Gather round, we got no gods to please. Saturday night, no sermons, just ease. Discussions flow like midnight breeze. No prophets here, just minds to tease. We talk big bangs and evolution. Question faith with our solution. Stars align in our confusion. Breaking free from old illusion. Join the fun, no need for trust. Dust to dust, we're stardust. No heaven high or hell to fear. Saturday night, we hold it dear. Fun and laugh at myth believers. Here we're all truth seekers. Open hearts and swift deceivers. Make a stand, no hidden levers. Raise your glass to reason, thrill, no ancient text, it's our own will. Debate till dawn, feel golden chill. Saturday night, we've got the skill. Echoes of a godless choir, like the world was fought the fire. Free our mindset to inspire. No holy walls to take us higher. Fun, fun, no need for trust. Dust to dust, we're stardust. No heaven high or hell to fear. Saturday night, we hold it dear. Fun, fun, no need for trust. Dust to dust, we're stardust. No heaven high or hell to fear. Saturday night, we hold it dear. Fun, fun, no need for trust. Dust to dust, we're stardust. No heaven high or hell to fear. Saturday night, we hold it dear. Fun and laugh at myth believers. Here we're all truth seekers.
Greetings. Welcome to the Captive Desk, hosting Saturday night at the Atheists. And joining me is some atheists. We've got Brainless joining us. We have Scott Duke.
Howdy.
And we have a special guest filling in a seat, so to speak, Ryan, also known as Blaster Master.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
Mike is having dinner with his sons that are celebrating their birthday, so hope he's having a good time. And Simos was feeling a bit under the weather. He sent me a message. He said, I'm just not feeling it. It's like, you be better, Simos. We'll catch you later. So,
Yeah.
In case you're wondering where the folks are, but it's all good. We've got most of the gang here, so to speak, and of course we covered this Brad guy a couple weeks ago, right? And he did a response to us because I guess we irritated him. And but he doesn't really have anything new to say. He just keeps saying the same things mostly over and over. So
He unloads his contempt upon all this.
He does. He doesn't like anybody. And so we decided, well, there really wasn't anything else to do or whatever. But Brainless was just talking about it. He likes to yell a lot, right? And I was like, yeah, we just, you need some metal music there when he's yelling, So I borrowed a little AI metal track, and I cut up some Brad clips responding to us. And this is going to be the response to Brad, and that's all we're going to do. And I'm going to play it because I had fun making it, and I think it's amusing. So you might find it amusing too. We'll see. All right.
no such thing as an atheist. You guys do not exist. Hey, answers in atheism, and that desktop idiot, and that desktop idiot, and that desktop idiot, you're fooled. See here, dead flies. Dead flies. Millions and billions of years ago, in a galaxy far, far away, nothing exploded. Dead flies. You call me crazy. Plan of thy destruction. Wait a minute, am I reading the right thing? And you know what, atheist? You're right. And you know what, atheist? You're right. And you know what, atheist? You're right. Oh, you atheist, especially that one desktop idiot. Self-theist, and of thy destruction. Wait a minute, am I reading the right thing? On you. That's why I say, hey, have a great time. Hey there, answers in atheism or atheist, whatever you were. Oh, you atheist, especially that one desktop idiot. And you know what? They're atheists. You're right. Unless the Lord Jesus Christ saves you, you are going to go to hell and burn forever.
Wow. So I wasn't
That's
here
going
last
to be
week.
it for this
I
little
missed this
video.
guy. I have not seen him yet. This is new for me.
Oh my God.
So,
But did you hear him say one thing on a regular volume?
No, I had to turn my volume up and down 3 times.
Oh my God.
he does that. He'll get real quiet and he gets really loud, and somebody was asking me about mixing it. It's like it's impossible. I mean, he does that, and sorry, but
I like the video though. It had a very ministries type vibe to it. You know what I mean?
Well,
ministry.
You weren't here, Ryan. We covered him. He is his own version of his own. He's not a Christian, supposedly. Okay, he has his own version of the Bible and his own ministry, I guess you could call it, whatever, and doing his videos. Only the KJV in English, because God preserved his word in English. Forget the Greek and the Hebrew. And he calls himself a saint, which means he's already chosen. So he's at the head of the line. Yeah.
Self-appointed saint. Nice.
Yep.
But he did a video. He basically invited it. I commented on one of his other videos, and I was thinking about covering him. And then he said, well, you need to check out my video. There's no such thing as an atheist. And it's like, okay. So we did it on the show here a couple weeks ago. It was perfect, right? So he says
Did anyone say there's no such thing as a Christian because Jesus doesn't exist?
So, but he's got this argument. There's no such thing. Anyway. So then, Mike,
he'll say.
Yeah, Mike.
Everybody knows that God really exists. They know it in their heart.
Yeah.
No, we
Yeah.
do not.
So Mike had dropped him a message and let him know that we were looking at it. So he got wind of it. And then the next day, or I think it was Monday, be a day in between. And then the next time he did a video, which I don't know if he does them every day, but both the next ones were back to us because I guess we irritated him. And he was just repeating, "You atheists are fools, you atheists are fools." And it's like, okay, we get it. And so...
Yeah, that's not an argument.
Yeah, and Mike sent me a video the other day. He was mad that women were wearing pants or something. So he's mad about everything.
You know, that's
No,
like,
no.
it's like he's stuck back in the 60s, or at least maybe he's
Something,
stealing
yeah.
material from people who preached from the 60s.
Well, I saw someone
Yeah, no.
comparing him to Wesley, and I do know Wesley.
Well, he's not mad about things. He's just mad.
He's just
Yeah.
angry. He did come across as a little unhinged there.
It really bothered Brainless. Brainless is delicate, as we all know, and the yelling and everything was a bit much. And to be honest, his habit of spitting is kind of gross. Okay,
Yeah, like you can say something loud and passionate, but like he was just rude.
yeah,
He
he
was just fucking rude.
he snorts up a big nasty one, and hawks it out. And I understand making the point, right? But he does it all the time, and it's, I mean, I don't know. There no manners. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's nasty.
No class.
It's nasty, right? You got to do that. Go in the bathroom with a tissue, like socialized, civilized people do, right? So
That's this bag of tricks that he just can't get creative enough to come up with something new material. And so, and my theory is, my working hypothesis is, he is so tender and blistered and infected on the inside that everything he's loud about is kind of the issues that he's insecure about.
Right. It's always like every accusation is a confession sort of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I want to say hello, everybody joining us. We got Tilting Windmill, Top Tester, BS, Rochelle is here. Good to see everybody.
I did not pop the side chat out yet.
And so I did tag Brad in my little video thing I made. So there's my response. That's about all. Now, I'm not great at doing that or anything, you know what I mean? I just threw some clips together with some metal music because that's all I heard when, especially, agreeing with Brainless, that he just seemed to yell a lot. And all I could hear is like some metal music, with some thrash, and somebody's just yelling, I'm mad at everybody. And, right?
Blasphemers!
So that was the idea. And if anybody, saw us covering him, you would get it. And if you didn't get it, you can always go back a couple of weeks there and watch the coverage of it.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go watch that.
It'll all come together. Okay.
Yeah.
And then while we're at it, we're going to take care of some business as well. Of course, I'm a big supporter of the ARC protest that Joe is taking under, along with a bunch of other people and organizations. And he's got all kind of things going on, and people coming in and booking all this stuff and everything, and all this great things going on. Yeah. And somebody asked me last week about accommodations, and I guess they do have a block of rooms. You can contact them about that, and they're talking about other accommodations as well. Kentucky Atheist, link is in the description, and we're going to play the commercial here real quick. And April 19, they're going to have a fundraising show. There are expenses that go along with all this. And even though there's a lot of donated things, there's always some expenses, right? So they're going to be having the fundraiser on the 19th. So, make sure you check it out. And again, all the information you could want, you can get a hold of Joe at the Kentucky Atheist. If he doesn't already have the information out, he's trying to keep everybody updated on these things. Link in the description, go over there. And while you're down there, of course, there's links to the everybody else that's here, except for Blaster. We'll put you in. Make sure you check out all the links below, including Joe's affiliate. There's a discount code down there. And we've got Hive Psi, great friend of the channel. We love Bree. We love the cryptids. Dear to my heart, right? And Bree has merch out now. Go get yourself a shirt. I got myself a shirt. Nice shirt.
Nice.
Bigfoot shirts, Mothman. She's got like four or five cryptids. And she said she's going to have a special Area 51 something coming out for the anniversary in June, I believe.
Nice.
So if you want to get that, it's going to be like a limited edition, or you know what I mean? So
imagine that, planning ahead.
Link is in the description as well. Go support Bree. Everybody might know that follows her. She recently moved and a new job and everything else. So, you can help it out.
It sounds like she's in Texas. Can you confirm that?
Somewhere like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And also, you also find a link for the Grassman Chronicles down there. Grassman Chronicles is just short of 100 subscribers. So if you're not subscribed to the Grassman Chronicles, let's get it to 100. I'd appreciate it a lot. Let people know. And I do have a new Grassman episode I'm working on. I just got to put it all together. I'm going to be covering the Puckwudgies. I'd never heard of the Puckwudgies. And if you haven't heard about the Puckwudgies, we're going to learn about the Puckwudgies. All right.
The what?
The Puckwudgies.
Sounds like something a Canadian does to you while you're ice skating.
I love the name. I love the name. And
sounds like a fun name.
I'm trying to cover all the Ohio cryptids because I'd already covered a couple of them in Ohio, and I figured, why don't I just get the list together, right? And there's about a dozen in Ohio, give or take. So I figured I already got some done, so I'll get a few more. And a couple of them are kind of lumped together as we've got a couple different Bigfoot cousins here in Ohio, like Orange Eyes and some others. So I might group that together. But I figure most of the rest of this year, I'll be doing episodes about Ohio cryptids, including we've got another lake monster besides Bessie, and we've got a giant frog. And let's see what else. There's something else on the list too, but it'll come to me. And don't worry, I'm going to do an episode on it because I got the list.
When you said, I'm glad you said Ohio cryptids, because when you said Pudgy Wudgy or whatever, I thought you were talking about a character from Star Wars. So
yeah, the Puckwudgies, they have there's Native American stuff, and then it seems also when the Europeans came over, it kind of blended with some of theirs. So we've got the old world meeting the new world thing going on there. And when I saw the name, I said, I got to do the Puckwudgies because I just love saying Puckwudgies. And I'm probably going to say Puckwudgies a lot when I'm covering the Puckwudgies.
I think I'm going to nickname one of my grandsons Puckwudgie.
Yeah.
So, but at the Grassman Chronicles, link in the description, subscribe over there so you don't miss the Puckwudgies, okay? And let's see what else is that. Okay, got everybody covered. We got Joe covered, Bree covered. So now it's time for our coverage for tonight. And, those that follow, I try to dig around in the smaller channels and try to find stuff that, a lot of the bigger stuff gets covered over and over. And I came across some stuff. However, I'm going to have to bend the rules just a little bit here, because when I came across a lot of this stuff on the smaller channels, they seem to be just repeating stuff or directly just playing stuff from larger content channel or larger subscriber channels, right? So I didn't want to really, because I think, if you're going to use somebody's stuff, you're supposed to comment on it or do something with it, right? Under fair use. And just playing somebody else's stuff, I don't think is really the right thing to do, right? So I don't want to give this other channel the credit for doing it. So I went right to the source. So bending the rules a little bit. Some of the stuff I found is on smaller channels. Again, they seem to be repeating, though, a couple of these bigger names. And either way I looked at it, we're going to have to bend the rules a little bit. And these channels have a little more bigger audience than I usually cover. But a lot of these little channels are repeating them as well. So that's how it comes around, okay? So the main video tonight is on this Robert Breaker. And he's, we were talking earlier about KJV only, as our friend Mr. Brad is. Well, so is this guy, and you'll find out why. He's a famous Bible-believing Christian author, teacher, and independent Baptist. That means he doesn't have an affiliation. Let's see.
He's famous?
He's famous. Well, this is, what the internet says.
Is Billy Graham famous? Is he Jerry Falwell infamous?
Well, according to Wikipedia, he's a devout fundamentalist, holds an unwavering commitment to the core tenets of the Christian faith. His convictions go far beyond the typical 7 or 8 doctrinal points that define a Christian fundamentalist in the eyes of others. He has developed a multitude of strong beliefs and principles through his meticulous study of the Bible.
So in other words, you wouldn't want to sit next to him on an airplane.
What is a strong belief? Does that just mean he's really confident?
He reads it a lot, I guess, because he wants other Christians to follow suit and learn. And he also, you're going to see, he's into this, I call it numberology. Apparently, they don't like numerology because that associates with like occult stuff, right? So some of them use the term numerics, and others are just use like it's a code in the Bible. So I'm not sure where they agree on that, but I'm calling it
all the other cult-like things that other people use the Bible to use.
Yeah, not them, right?
But we're special. We're special. We got it right.
Yeah,
Can we just call it bullshit?
Well, sometimes we do. Yeah. So. So he, I guess he writes books and he runs around speaking and everything. Looks like he's about 50 years old. He's married, etc. He's a staunch advocate of the King James Version of the Bible, the belief that it remains untainted and uncorrupted, uncontaminated by the critical texts of Rome and the influence of Greek philosophy, thus preserving the integrity of the true Christian faith. So there you go.
It's once literally again considered like the worst version.
It's got the magic stuff in it, though.
Even among the English versions, it's not considered the best.
And we'll have a little fun watching this because I was amused watching it. And of course, in the end, though, he's probably having a laugh back because he's worth about $2 million.
Man, I was just could just be a dishonest person and say I found Jesus and make the money.
So, hello, Commander. Hello, Stephanie. Good to see you. And Ryan, hello. Good to see everybody stopping by. So, yeah, we're going to get the code, okay? And this code proves everything and proves God and proves the Bible and probably proves your grandma's recipe for banana cake too. I don't know. We're going to find out, okay? So here we roll.
It's zucchini bread.
Zucchini bread, whatever grandma made. Lemon pound cake, chocolate cake, cheesecake. Yeah, now I got the munchies.
All right, let's do this. What was this disclaimer? Oh, that's
Who
yours.
is the final authority?
Yeah.
God or some man? The Bible says, let God be true and every man a liar. I don't want to hear what men have to say. I want to believe God's word and His promise. So I want to find that Bible. If I want to find that Bible...
And right off, I mean, this is somebody up there that's telling you how it is and how he's figured it out and everything, right? Saying that every man is a liar. See, now that always bothered me, right? Because...
Well, aren't you a man, sir?
Yeah, aren't you saying, well, I'm up here, I'm a man, I'm a liar. So,
yeah.
I
guess we can all go home.
They're like pointing at everybody else, right? Like every man's a liar. You're all liars. You know what I mean? God thinks you're all liars.
First of all,
but not me.
I just want to poison the well for everyone else on earth except for me. Everyone's a liar.
You're all liars. So, but he's not a liar. So I guess.
Oh, well, I'm so glad he has the truth.
Yep.
What do I need to look for? Something that has something to do with the number 7. Because it's purified 7 times. Remember what I told you last year? We went to the museum here, and the Cherokees said that 7 is God's number.
Okay, I'm not Cherokee, and I really don't like speaking for the native folks, indigenous folks. But if anybody knows if the Cherokees have a thing for number 7 and it's God, let us know in the chat. Because I'd rather not, say, because no matter where you look, you get different answers. You know what I mean?
Well, I know, like in South Korea, number 4 is considered like taboo, because of the way it's pronounced. It's the same word for death. So, they will not have a 4th floor. It'll just be 3rd to 5th floor in buildings. In the elevator, they just skip the 4th button.
Yeah, well, they had a thing, too, about no 13th floor on a building in some of the buildings, too.
I think 11 is another one of those numbers that's, considered taboo as well.
Well, these folks have a list of all the numbers. I found videos where they go through 1 through 40, and then there's some numbers past that, and then there's the big numbers, like 666 and all that. Mm-hmm. So they have quite the list of associating all the numbers with something. But astrology and all that stuff is nonsense, and it's occultish, but it's kind of the same thing, isn't it? You're just associating stuff to numbers and finding a code in it, right?
It's silly, dude.
It is. It's the same thing, right?
Yeah, it doesn't make... man.
No, it gets better. Just wait.
It's
math. If anybody's ever heard any of these stories, like the similarities between Lincoln and Kennedy, right? That Kennedy was killed in a Lincoln and Lincoln was killed in Ford's theater. You know what I mean? Have you ever heard those kind of things, right? They find all these similarities, like it means something. All right, well, here we go.
Yeah.
And even the Cherokees can see that number 7 is so important. So, did you know that there were 7 main languages that the Bible went through till we got our Bible in English?
Okay. This might be something Scott might know. There was 7 versions of the Bible before we got this version. He's going to list them.
I don't know really what he's referring to. Well, Hebrew, Aramaic,
then Greek. Aramaic, then Syriac, then Greek, then Old Latin, then German. First thing printed on a printing press was a Bible in German and English. So,
what about French? I guess they use Latin, but still, that none of this matters. I mean, except for the Hebrew and Aramaic, maybe Syriac, if you're talking about like
Greek,
some sort of Greek, yeah. So
yeah, but
those first four may matter. The last don't really, because we know that the texts in their original were written in Hebrew and Greek, Hebrew, Aramaic, Greek, maybe a little bit of Syriac. I'm not sure about the Syriac.
A commander found a loophole. If every man's a liar, do the women tell the truth then?
Yes. No,
well,
also like
Mama tells the truth. All other women are liars.
With this list, like it's not like it was first all written in Hebrew, then all in Arabic, and then in Syriac. Like,
right, it was just parts.
Yeah,
that was the language at the time that they were writing it.
Yeah, and also like I'm pretty sure that the English one was not translated from the German, but from the other old languages.
But was it number 7 though?
Which probably depends on which English version you're talking about.
But we know what version he's talking about already, so.
Oh hell, fucking yes.
Yeah, well, he made number 7 fit right in there. So we're gonna
once again leaving out that there are other languages besides English where they've translated the Bible. So
yeah, like you said,
there's
French.
no special path to the King James English. You know, you had Erasmus came up with the first what do you call it? The first apparatus of combining the different Greek texts into a combined Greek, a final version of the Greek text based on textual criticism, which of course they reject, which means they can't have an English Bible because it all came from Erasmus and maybe some Germanic translations from the Germanic, and so on and so forth. So yeah, even his history is just so mythologized and simplified that it's just not credible or reliable.
Yeah, he's also not mentioning that it was passed down through like word of mouth for a long time too. So who knows how it got mistranslated through that?
But it's number 7.
Okay.
May I
it's
correct
magic.
that
That's
one
right.
thing? Purposefully mistranslated.
Yeah.
Yeah. We got a lot more
detail,
though.
but
Prepare to be amazed because you just prepare to be amazed.
He's going to turn himself into a
I don't want to give it away.
English in the 7th language. Well, that's interesting, isn't it? Now, the word of the Lord purified 7 times. So let's look at that number 7 again, and let's look at some things. Do you know that the New Testament came from Greek, Textus Receptus, and I've got that over here on the table if you want to see it. And when you start looking at the Textus Receptus, you know what you find out? There's 7 editions of it. Well, that's interesting.
Scott, do you know what the Textus Receptus is? It's some kind of manuscript, I'm guessing.
I've been hanging out with Justin from Deconstructed Zone. We need him here. He would know.
Yeah. Let's see. Textus Receptus, Latin for received text, refers to a series of printed Greek New Testament texts that were widely used during the Reformation. So this is a Reformation era document. It originated with the work of Desiderius Erasmus in the early 16th century and was later refined by scholars like blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to name all the scholars. The term Textus Receptus itself was coined in the preface of the 1633 Elsevier edition. The text serves as the basis for the several influential Bible translations, including the King James and the Reina Valera in Spanish. While it was foundational for centuries, modern textual critics often view it as less accurate compared to the newer editions based on a broader range of manuscripts. You know, this reminds me of when I was taking evangelism classes in seminary. I had this one evangelism teacher who, despite being at a seminary where you have Greek scholars just roaming the floors, only accepted the Textus Receptus, which was just very odd. So he must have had some of the old-fashioned prejudices about the King James Bible out there. But Textus Receptus is a 16th century New Testament Greek text that was basically refined over the years. So it's nothing magic. Calling it, saying there's
come on,
the Greek Textus Receptus. He's kind of fetishizing a particular text, and that's just silly.
We need some magic, though.
There's a song about needing magic, but I can't remember the title of it.
That's convenient. You had the New Testament written originally in the Greek language. Then in 1522, Desiderius Erasmus put out his Greek New Testament. Then you have 1534, Simon Colanus. Then you have the 1538 Sessa edition by Johannes Savio. Then you got the 1546 Stephanus Edito Regio. Then you've got the 1565 Theodore Beza. Then you have the 1633 Elzevir brother. First mention of the word Textus Receptus. Textus Receptus is Latin. It means received text. Who received it? All Christians. All Christians up until that point said, yeah, this is the Bible, we believe it. All true Christians.
All right, well,
All
that goes
true
along with what you were saying, Scott, except for the fact that, yeah, you're saying that it's not in line with some of the other texts, and then he's kind of implying that it is, right?
Right. He's trying to make it the magical perfecto version of the Greek text. But remember, there were Greek texts before that, and spread out. There was, the Codex Sinaiticus, and that second one I never can remember, and Greek scraps of Greek New Testament documents. There was a Septuagint as well, but he's talking about the New Testament. And what Erasmus did was take the ones that were available at his time, and not all of them were available, and kind of collated them and made some editorial decisions in choosing which one was most likely the original text. And then I think he probably made notes down below in the actual Greek text to indicate what some of the other manuscripts that were available at that time said. And just every edition since then has just been taking what has been newly found and revising it here and there, and then putting the notations down in the footnotes of alternate readings and alternate renditions.
That's what I got right off of it, without even having to look it up. I was getting that drift. So thank you for confirming it. Yeah, I didn't. Again, though, it doesn't seem like there was actually 7. I mean, you could list what is in the Greek documents. Aren't there thousands of them?
Yeah. Now he's talking about 7 versions of the Textus Receptus, and I pulled that up.
So one of the thousands is this one that there's 7 versions of.
Well, I can't even get Copilot to tell me that much. So he may be. Anyway, yeah, I don't know. I'd have to look into the actual number.
But of this version, there are 7 versions, right?
Allegedly. And by allegedly, I mean he's saying it, but I'm having to do a little research.
How else is he going to get them to the number 7? Just let him have it. Come on.
Yeah, just let him have this. Have this in his poor little life.
I'm trying to give him the 7s.
Okay, here. Okay, I see 4 different editions. The editions of the Textus Receptus differ primarily in the following ways, and it lists the Erasmus, the Stephanus, or Stephanus, Robert Estienne Stephanus, Beza's edition, Elsevier's edition. So I'm only coming up with 4, and I'm going to ask, aren't there 7 editions of the Textus Receptus? Do y'all hear me typing?
Hardly.
No.
We always do.
I'm sorry. I'm kind of pulling this like a.
Your keyboard sounds very soft compared to a lot of them.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Do you know where he's located, Dave?
Let's see.
Okay, so the number is, it kind of shifts around because you have the same editors doing multiple editions. So I just basically, a guy's either screwed up or got new information and he would update it. So like this was the Erasmus did 5 editions. Stephanus did 4 editions, like a year apart, multiple additions to Beza. And so there were these minor revisions apparently that were done, and he's counting the minor revisions as part of this perfect number or whatever. So it's a goofy, funny accounting way of getting to 7.
You're like, how did he get there?
Yeah. It doesn't really say other than he was born in Florida, but I think
I was going to guess Florida.
Yeah, but he was where he's preaching or something's like in Oklahoma or something.
Huh. Okay.
At least like this thing is. So I would have to go look, and it doesn't say in the.
Is it like near close to St. Patrick's Day? Is that why they have all the green? Oh yeah, it must be.
Possibly, yeah.
I see.
Of course,
shamrocks.
it would fit a church to celebrate a genocide.
Snakes.
Yeah, they were just getting rid of the snakes. What do you mean?
Yeah. Just look up what kind of snakes there were in Ireland.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I've been snakes. Yeah.
Now, there's one more so-called Textus Receptus today. That's the version of Scrivener that I have over here that you can get from the Trinitarian Bible Society. All he did was back translate into Greek from the King James. So we're not counting that one. And by the way, he was a little biased, so he made 100 different changes. So be careful trying to run.
We don't count like that fudges the numbers so they don't fit for me. So we're not counting that one.
Take that one off the list. Yeah. That messes it all up.
Shit, Mom. Holy shit. And he's even fucking saying it. Yeah, there's another one, but we're not counting that one.
Yeah.
To the Textus Receptus, stick with the English is what I say, because God gave it to us. But isn't that?
And here it is again.
Yeah,
forget the
no. God gave us Dutch. That's the almighty language.
Yeah. Forget the
peasants don't speak it. Like, I can't help it.
Forget the chosen people that don't speak English, right?
Yeah, I'm getting some nationalist kind of vibes from him, you know.
Yeah, and also like if
English, yeah.
Do they actually think that Jesus spoke English?
Apparently, they believe that God has preserved the word correctly in the English why do I want to say virgin? I keep wanting to say virgin. Version of the English version. Sorry, English virgins. The English version of the KJV. So there's some divine. They think they're getting the divine word through the authorized English version. And that's the same thing that Brad guy was saying, that's the, forget all the other versions, forget the Greek and the Hebrew. God is actually speaking to them through the English version of the KJV.
I wonder if Brad considers this guy a saint, or if he's just one of those damn Christians who are really.
It's hard to tell. I mean, Brad's got to have at least one friend, right?
Can't he just promote himself into a sainthood like Brad did?
Yeah. Brad said we atheists are arrogant. I was like, you've promoted yourself to sainthood. I mean,
yeah, you think you can communicate with God? Who's arrogant?
Yeah, he goes right to the whatever side of God they're on, right? The right or left hand of God, right? They skip the line, right? They just go right in. He's already got a card and everything. Yeah.
They are righteous, we're not. So yeah, come on. Of course they skip the line.
And hey, nerdy, Oceanus, Stop the Stupidity, God's Seed, and Stephanie. I seen Stephanie in there. Hello, Stephanie. Always good to see you.
Good to see
everyone. Nice people.
Sure. And Claire in here, and Randy. Always good to see all the best folks around stopping by.
Fascinating, just happens to be 7 of them. Remember that number 7, okay?
We're trying to. I think we're getting the hint.
Now, throughout history, God was active in preserving and purifying his word. Remember what he said. He said, purified 7 times, and he will preserve them.
Now, this is some kind of temple ritual, isn't it, Scott?
I think it's from a
Psalm 12
Psalm or whatever that talks about purifying silver or something like that 7 times.
Yeah, I know. It's out of context, though. Go ahead, Ryan.
I was just going to say it's about getting the purifying silver, or like you would get the extra, the iron or whatever that's in it out of it, so you have pure silver. Is that what it's used to? It's like,
yeah, I can understand an analogy to purification or something, but this is not talking about being the Bible. It's
okay. Here's the quote. It's from Psalm 12:6. The words of the Lord are pure words, as silver tried in a furnace of earth, purified 7 times. Now, you see, what he's doing is taking a metaphor and trying to make it literal by saying that there are 7 languages that the Bible came from. There are 7 versions of Erasmus' New Testament, which means, well, tell me that you don't understand imagery and poetry without telling me you don't understand imagery and poetry. You do it by like this to, there were 7 languages. And of course, you're having to do all sorts of mob accounting to try to make that number come out.
And all those folks before were getting the wrong word, right? Because they had the 7th versions of all this stuff hadn't come out yet.
It's just confirmation bias personified,
And it's, well, like you said, it's that nationalist vibe too. Forget all those people in them other countries with their Bibles and their Hebrew and whatnot. And
he's like, the true Christians believe this.
Okay. So he had this up a few minutes ago, and he only had it up really quick, and I didn't get a chance to stop it. But yeah, I knew I heard this before, and it's not. Wait till you get the 7th version of the Bible, because until then you're screwed. I don't think that's what it said. So
from this generation. Okay.
Yeah.
Last time I stated that the King James Bible is the 7th English translation of the Bible. And we went through that. We saw Tyndale Bible, Coverdale Bible, Matthew's Bible, Great Bible, Geneva Bible, Bishop's Bible, and the King James Bible is number 7. Now I want to revise that this year a little bit, because I got to go to the King James Bible Museum in Phoenix, Arizona. It's actually in Cave Creek. And they
No way. I didn't know there was such a thing, but I hope you had a great time.
I'm not too far away from that.
Sounds indoctrinating.
Sounds
Maybe
like
next year, maybe next time they have a revival, I can sneak in there with a camera and record everything.
Sounds like something I got to add to my bucket list, let me tell you.
It showed me a couple of things more that I didn't know. So I learned a lot. I was so excited to go there. If you ever get a chance to go to the King James Bible Museum there in Phoenix, Arizona, you need to go and learn. What I learned, and by the way, I'm leaving out Wycliffe from 1384 because that's way, way older. Okay. But
you're
there's
gonna
an even older version, but like we're leaving
Why would
that
you leave
one
it
out
out?
because otherwise we don't add up to 7.
It's old. It
twice.
doesn't count.
So
come on, Bob. This is
He's like,
this,
shut up,
this is
Grandma.
twice. This is twice now, Bob. You're kind of fuzzing the list a little
this
bit there.
is so transparent. How do people not see that?
Because they don't even care. They just want to eat up the bullshit. They just want to eat it. They don't care if it's they don't have a filter, like a skeptical filter at all.
Well, as long as he doesn't put a number 8 by it, they're okay.
Wycliffe is
Okay,
concerning
now
me.
I'm sorry.
No,
When
go
I was
ahead.
doing a little investigation on Copilot, I was very curious about some, other translations that took place around this time. One of them was the Darena Bible, which was a 1569 Spanish translation of the Old Testament that relied on the Masoretic text, the Ferrara Bible, which was a basically it was translated from Hebrew into Spanish in the Vetus Latina. And then the New Testament part of it primarily relied on the Textus Receptus. Remember that discussion just a few minutes ago, Textus Receptus. And then he also relied on some Syriac manuscripts and that same Vetus Latina. So in other words, you have just as fine a source of language tools as the King James did, or at least the early English ones, because this was like a few years before the King James version. So why is he leaving those out? Why is it English that's so special? And so on and so forth. Of course, I guess the Protestant nature of King James might have something to do with it.
Yeah, it's got to be a special English, or God doesn't like it.
The magic English.
American English.
Important to remember, but that's such old. By the way, I got Wycliffe over here too, so you can try to read it. It's kind of fun to try to read English from 700 years ago. Amen. But what I want to do.
Yeah, See, here he is again. What he's saying, it's kind of fun. It's kind of hard to read, right? And that's the problem with the KJV. It's very hard to read. It's outdated English, so to speak.
And look how in order to get to a number 7 instead of number 8, you leave out the Wycliffe version. And did God authorize you to leave out the Wycliffe version as part of your numbering system?
And again, did somebody tell the people that were following the Wycliffe version that they're screwed?
Well, he's telling them now.
Yeah, kind of late, right? That's
Surely
agreed.
there must have been an accountant in the auditorium going, wait a minute. There should be 8 at least.
Well, I already counted 9. It's already set we're not using this one and we're not using that one. So that's...
Yeah, there was more than one. Now see, if God was trying to get his message through, I would more agree with people that would say that he gets it through any version of the Bible or any religion, right? that it's somehow still getting through, where he's saying, no, everybody else, no, only, and again, until this certain point in time, until King James, and then, see, it's not just the King James, he's adding on like the modern English version, right? So he's limiting it, yeah, like I think Ryan said, within the last 50 years or something, right? That's his time frame for God's word in the proper enunciation. Is that the right word? Or
Dialect?
Form of the English and everything. I just
wonder
too.
about 1 Corinthians 14:33. God is not the author of confusion. Okay, I'm very confused.
Yeah, because that's why I brought up with Ed from the Rabid Atheist is, what version he followed or whatever when he was learning and preaching and all that. And he didn't follow the KJV, but when I mentioned it, he just said, there's a lot of, arguments about it. So it seems there's a problem again with the faith that can't even agree which version of the book you're reading. And according to some of them, like these folks, it's very important, because if you're reading from the wrong version, like Brad says, you're going to hell. So,
exactly, Ember. What Ember said.
Hey, Ember.
She said, God is not the author of confusion is an admission God is not the author of the Bible. I agree.
Yeah. And hello, Ember. Good to see you. And, well, of course you guys would choose a Protestant version of the Bible. The Catholic canon is the correct one. Well, of course. That's where, that's, here again, you've got to choose the right religion, and then you've got to choose the right version of the text. And I think a lot of other religions share this similar problem where they don't agree on all their texts, right? It's not unique to, I don't even think they'd like to be called Christians, but the unchristians, so there's always this problem of they can't even agree within the religion, right?
I wanted to show you this because the Tyndale was only a New Testament. All these others were whole Bibles. So see how that kind of doesn't work? So when you take the Tyndale and you look at how it was just the New Testament, do you know there was another guy that came along later and added to it to make a whole Bible? So really, I think the list should be like this. The King James Bible is the 7th complete English Bible.
Okay, he's fudging it again because he had to take the one version out. So he's changing the language a little bit to the complete English version, right? Okay.
If you start with the Coverdale Bible of 1535, and you look at the 1537 Matthew's Bible,
right.
And here's the one, the 1539 Taverner. Taverner, he took the Tyndale, and it's almost like he finished it. So that's why we wanted the list to be like this. And it's pretty fascinating. When you look at the cover of the Taverner's Bible, there's an old man's face looking at a young man's face. You know what he's saying? He's saying, I'm the young guy that looked to Tyndale to try to finish what he was doing. There's so much symbolism in these Bibles. I have time to get to them all. But look, we have the 1539, great Bible.
Well, but if they were the Word of God, shouldn't they all be exactly the same?
Yeah, because you're supposed to have divine inspiration to the people, the scribes or the authors or whatever, right?
You guys, you're thinking too hard. Those were not real Christians.
I'm sorry.
Okay? They weren't real Christians, obviously. The ones that wrote those versions. Come on.
I'm that desktop
that he mentioned were different.
I'm that desktop idiot, remember? But again, here he's composing another list he likes, right?
1960 Geneva Bible. Now, some of these I have over on the table. Okay, not all of them. That would be a lot of money. So if you want to donate,
So
Your
if
money
you
is
wanna
going for me to
donate-
buy Bibles like $3,000 or $4,000 to get some of these old ones. Okay.
To be fair, it says he lives modestly, so I guess he's not driving around in a fancy car or anything. He seems to donate to missionary work and everything, so we're not going to give any.
So he's not a complete scumbag, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, you know what I mean. Yeah, so
yeah. All right.
But I love having Bibles to be able to show people. We have the Bishop's Bible and then the King James Bible. So in English, the 7th complete entire Bible in English is the King James Bible. Is that an accident? Remember, purified 7 times. So what's the number 7? Oh, well, it's that one. The most sold one in history that brought more revival.
There you go. Yeah, he picked a list to make 7 of them. And like we've already mentioned, certain ones fudging it a little bit to keep the list at 7. To
Here's
fit in with
7 list
with a verse that doesn't have anything to do with wait until the 7th version of the Bible comes out. Yeah. But it's interesting. I mean, you know what we love here at Saturday Night at the Atheist is using a lot of tacks and a lot of string, right? If you have not used up a lot of tacks and a lot of string trying to connect all these dots together, then we have not done our job here at Saturday Night at the Atheist.
Connect the dots, la la la, connect the dots.
Bible. You think maybe God was saying that, hey, he'll do it in the 7th one, and he did?
Yeah, and that's very suspect why God was leading people on through all these versions, through all these years, because what King James is the 1600s, so you've got at least a good 1,000 years of misleading people intentionally.
Clearly, that was the devil.
Okay,
God,
but that was the plan.
Again.
No, he said it was the plan. It was God's plan to get the 7th version to us.
Is he a Calvinist?
That's the thing. These folks are like their own thing, right? They don't like associating because of their own thing conflicts. You know what I mean? Same thing with that Brad fella. He's his own thing. He made up his own thing. He does his own thing. He preaches his own thing. Everybody else is wrong.
Ross says it's the big book of multiple choice.
Oh yeah. And which version?
Yeah.
Let's say this guy here has. I'm not sure. I clipped some of this because he was, it's like sometimes they talk in church business and their family or whatever. I cut that stuff off, but he has a table of different versions of the Bible. Those are the bad Bibles. And he's got another table with the KJV. That's the good Bible. And he doesn't put them together. So.
Of course.
Sounds like it to me. So the 7th completed English Bible is the King James Bible. The King James Bible was started in 1604. And on the back there, on that table, I have a facsimile of a King James Bible. I actually have a page from a 1611 Bible in the back there. You can actually touch. It's over 400 years old. It was started in 1604, and they finished it in 1611. How many years is that? 7.
No way. Somebody say way.
Way.
So, just another 7. There's a lot of 7s, isn't there? So when you start looking at the King James Bible, you go, wow, 7th language, 7th Greek New Testament text, 7th English whole Bible. Just an accident, right? Or is God saying, watch out for that number 7?
Have you ever been to the casino and you see those lucky number 7 machines? Just like that.
Yeah, see, the problem with this, and, of course, he's talking about 7s, is there's videos on all kind of numbers in the Bible, right? So it just, what is the message with, correlating numbers to letters like in the Hebrew and stuff?
Don't tell them where numbers came from, though.
Yeah, okay, there's a bunch of number tricks in the Bible. That's what I'm getting. If you take a lot of us have done those tricks on I've got a book of them somewhere where it doesn't matter what the number the person picks. If you take them through the math, you can tell them at the end their answer is, 50 or whatever the answer is, right? It's figured out in the math formula. So it doesn't matter what number they pick. Once you have them add, subtract, multiply, and there's always a part in there about your do something with your original number. You know what I mean?
Right. Add a zero or whatever.
Yeah, and that fits it back into the formula, and you'll always get the same answer. And that's what the whole time I was thinking, man, these are like those magic tricks I remembered as a kid, where you just say, pick a number and I'll guess your number, right?
I remember David Copperfield did that on like TV, right?
Yeah. So it's like, okay, it's just number tricks, right? And I'm sure you could do it with any book. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I mean, that's the other thing too. It's like you can do this same sort of numberology, if that's what we're calling it, with any book, and you can come up with all sorts of strange things.
Yeah. How many times is the word in this book, and then start dividing it or multiplying it by numbers, and look, it's the number I want.
Yeah.
Nathaniel Jeanson, that works for AIG, that's how he does genetics. He multiplies everything by 6,000 years ago, and he goes, look, it works out.
That's hilarious.
What a coinkydink, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of sevens. Now, here's an interesting thing. When King James became the king, he was King James the Sixth of Scotland and King James the First of England. What's 6 plus 1? 7.
Oh, no way. I'm getting weirded out, folks. I'm getting weirded out. Come on.
If God said 2 plus 2 equals 5, would he believe it?
Yeah. Absolutely.
He would believe it.
Yeah, you can prove anything with numerology. Absolutely right, Commander. That's what they're doing, and that is exactly why what I've noticed is a lot of them prefer that what they're doing is not called numerology, because that's too occultish. So they're doing what I'm calling numberology, because I made that up to call it that. Okay.
It's just like weird. It's almost like cold reading or something, right?
It's like we were saying, if you take any book and you plug in, how many words, are repeated in the book, and then you run it into they have these, code searchers or whatever, like how the code breaker things, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it'll automatically look for patterns. So it'll say, hey, there's groupings of these words, or so many of these words, or these words are repeated the same amount of times. It comes up out of these programs, and that's what they do with the Bible. But again, I'm pretty sure it works on any book. It'll run through that math program, and it'll start finding patterns for you.
Just a coincidence. You can't say it's just a coincidence the more we get into this. But just another one of those sevens. You know what else is interesting? He was more than just the king of those two. King James the First of England. He was King James the Sixth of Scotland. He was King James the First of France. And King James the First of Ireland. So what is that? That's 1611. That's quite interesting. I can't, maybe just a...
Yeah, that's quite it. What does that mean?
7-Eleven.
Yeah, you know what I mean? This doesn't mean...
a Slurpee. A slushie.
How does it go back to the, okay, so King James is the real version because when he was king, works out to the year when he's going to have the Bible done. Okay. Sorry, that was a long piece of string. I had to run it all the way over the other side over here.
It really reeks of desperation when they do this sort of stuff.
That was a long piece of string. That was a long. Half my spool's gone on that one.
Coincidence there, right? So the King James Bible is full of sevens and the number 7. It's purified 7 times, and it's the 7th English Bible. You think God is saying, this is my one? This is the one I want you to use? But there's way more to it than just that.
Instead of do all those number tricks.
Yeah, it's
magic number symbols stuffed into your. Well, it's actually in his head, because what's a 1 and a 6 and a 1 and a 1? If you don't know that you're looking for a date, or maybe it's a string of letter numbers that stand for letters, but somebody can't spell. It doesn't say. Am I talking crazy?
Well, no, that's what I was saying earlier. I would side more with the folks that say, God can speak to you through religion or without religion. You know what I mean? That God is going to find a way to speak to you. Limiting God to a certain book through all the monkey shines he's gone through with the twisting and turning and hanging upside down and backwards and
he left us a clear trail.
Kama Sutra looking
with the number 7 on them.
I mean, contortionist. Where's Slim at? We need Slim, brainless. This is right up Slim Cyborg's alley.
He's making pretzels. He's making pretzels up there. He twisted himself into like 6 pretzels.
One with the contortionist things. Yeah. I mean, jeez. Wow.
Ready for this? Not only is the King James Bible the preserved Word of God, it's also the wonder of the world in this latter age, just like it said it would be. But how is it?
It's a wonder of the world, as it says it will be. Hello, Mike. Heathens can't do math like believers. Yeah, I know. I'm that desktop idiot, so don't listen to anything I'm saying.
I don't do maths.
The wonder of the world in this latter age. Are you ready for that? You're going to get goosebumps so big a pig can suck on them. If you.
That's the part I was waiting for.
Yeah, sucking my goosebump, eh?
A goosebump so big a pig can suck on them. I'd never heard that before. Honestly,
Yeehaw.
And I have no idea what it means. No idea what that means.
You stick with me here, because this is more than just a coincidence. The King James Bible has been proven to be mathematically perfect. And Brother Brandon Peterson, sealedbytheking.com, wrote this book of intricate patterns and details pointing to God's inspiration of the 1611 King James Bible. Look how he has 777. And he's found...
Isn't this like gematria people do with the Hebrew Bible?
Well, what's perfect about it, right? They're just claiming it's perfect because, again, they can plug, I don't know what the word is, somebody that knows math better than I do, but there's, again, it's like these math tricks, right? You can plug these numbers in and get these things to do. Yeah, algorithm. You feed it this information and it'll do things. It'll sort it a certain way. It'll add and multiply things, whatever. And that's all they're doing. And I looked into, not sure if that's this one. I think it's the other name that he drops. And that's what he's doing. He's got one of these programs and he runs the stuff in and it kicks out all this stuff and he just looks through it and he goes, oh, look, there's a bunch of 7s or whatever. And then they plug that back into verses and they go, oh, look what this verse says. But I was noticing, well, you're following this code to read the Bible. It's like, why don't you just read the Bible? Right? It doesn't
they
make...
hate the Bible. That's one thing I've learned is Christians hate the Bible.
Well, it was almost like they were skipping. You know what I mean? Like they were reading this, and when you read this verse, this is going to give you the math to go to this next verse, which is like, let's say a page away or something. And then they said, so say, okay, here we go. Here's this next number. And it's like, well, wait a minute. Well, you're skipping all that in between. And what's the point of doing this when you're just supposed to read the book in the first place? You know what I mean? It seems they're doing all this work to
trying to fit a square peg into a round circle.
Why not even that? I don't know what they're trying to do, because it seems to me, just read the book, like most of them say, right? You just read
but they
the
don't
book.
like doing that. They hate that.
I guess really bad, because they spend a lot of time with these math programs, taking them from one verse to another, and then they're saying, see, like he just said, and I'm sure what this book says, this makes the Bible mathematically perfect. Because
I don't even know what that means.
Yeah, because they can find number sevens. So you're losing me fast, Bob. I try to hang in there on Saturdays. I really do. Bob, you're losing me fast, and I'm about out of string.
So many things. We're going to get into it. The first thing he found is what he calls the Elton anomaly. If you count every single word in the King James Bible, it comes out to this many. And I think it's 823,543 words in the King James Bible. That is exactly 7 to the 7th power.
Okay.
Just a...
Yeah, exactly. Dude. Wow. Okay. I don't even know what that means. Again, it's
he expressed my thoughts perfectly.
Yeah.
So is he talking about the 1611 version of the King James Bible, or the 1629, or the 1638 edition, or the 1762 edition, or the 1769 edition? But
yeah.
I only count 5 editions there. So I don't know where he's getting the 7 from. And actually, most King James Bibles being used today are the 1769 edition. So that's not even the 1611 King James. So don't know where he's getting all this stuff.
He's got to pick a version to fit his math on top of everything else. Because if it doesn't have the right amount of words, then it doesn't work out with something 7. Then he'll just say, well, I still use the KJV, but it's this other version that he's citing, because that has the right amount of words in it.
Maybe we could look at Ember's little notes here. Did a little fact checking. Of course, see, once again,
it's 783, 137. 77 is 823543.
Yeah, 7 to the 7th power. So also, are we counting those italicized words as well that they put in there to help smooth our reading along? Because that's how perfect it is as an English version. We have to add in things that weren't in the original languages in order to make it readable. So is he counting?
I heard one of them say,
or is he not including the italics? Because italics is something that people put in there.
I don't know if it's this guy or another one, but I heard him saying something about, we only read the words in red or something like that. We not the words in black or something.
Yeah, well, that's a way to say I'm lazy without actually saying it.
I've never read the Bible.
Accident, you think? Or do you think that's God in heaven having his hand over every single word? Does that work in other Bibles? It does not.
Or it could be just a load of bullshit to raise money for your whatever bank accounts.
Well, and this, once again, this is pushing it even farther, because not only did you have to wait through all those versions and all the translations, and then to get King James, and then the King James versions, and then the version into the modern English that he likes to read. And then you had to wait until they could get these computer programs to run these algorithms to pick out these patterns so they could write books, which has only been in the last 10 years or 20 years or so that they've been able to do this with a computer. So everybody that was a believer up until they cracked the code 10 or 20 years ago, once again, you're all screwed. God, that was part of God's plan. You were all screwed. You didn't have the right word. You didn't have the right version. You didn't have the right understanding because you didn't get the code until we had modern computers to figure it out.
They're just
that
not
was
one
God's
of the
plan.
144,000 or whatever, right?
Absolutely
Not his
not.
fault.
They all had high expectations, and they got to the gates, and they said, "Sorry, you're not getting in. You got."
Are you holding a number 7 with you? Come on.
Yeah, you didn't wait until computers were found to crack the code to make sure you had the right version of the Bible.
Yeah. Fail.
All right, we're figuring this out. Okay.
That is fascinating. That can't be an accident. You know what's even weirder? Well, we'll get to it here in a second.
Oh. Okay, I'm going to bite my tongue on
Yeah,
what the pastor could possibly think was weird.
But that can't be an accident. The following statement has been attributed to Albert Einstein. It says, "I can never believe in any God who can't be proven mathematically." Okay? There is so much mathematical evidence that proves that the King James Bible was given us by God. The Word.
Yeah, okay. And he's going to mention Einstein again later. But again, whenever they try to use Einstein, and then the way he's using it, he's going to use him both ways, is just cherry picking. Everybody knows Einstein didn't believe in a Christian God.
No, he didn't believe hardly in a God at all.
Yeah, he had some cosmic version of God, but
Like a deistic.
Yeah, something like that. And I think that there's another word for it, but yeah, some kind of a meaning to it all, but not actually the being, right?
Words are 7 to the 7th power. And if you want to know more, go to Brandon Peterson's website, not website, but YouTube channel, Truth is Christ. He's always putting out more. He's finding more and more of that number 7.
Yeah, okay. And this one I did look up and checked out the channel, and that's where I found out what he's doing. Yeah, he can find stuff everywhere, and yeah, if you want to go to that Truth in Christ channel, it's an interesting channel. That's all I'm going to say. Check it out for yourself.
But the King James Bible is powerful, pure, preserved, and perfect, and the math proves it. And I'm just going to give you a couple of examples. And you cannot deny how amazing that it is. But here's some interesting little things. By the way, this does not work in any other version. That's what's so amazing.
Yeah.
The word rock
Totally.
shows up 7 times in the King James Bible, capital R.
No way. Oh, and Ember said, let's see, that wasn't Einstein. It was unnamed critic's commentary on Goodell's ontological proof. Okay. So, yep. Bad, Bob. Very bad. Thanks, Ember.
Can't even
Jehovah shows up 7 times. Gospel of God 7 times. My beloved Son 7 times. Forgiveness 7 times. Reconciled 7 times. Sanctified 7 times. Confessed 7 times. The Word, capital W, 7 times. Perfectly 7 times.
And all the rest of the words showed up a different amount of times.
Now he's going to read all the words off.
I mean, okay, but what's the point, right? Well, of course there's if I write if any of us write something, we can go in there and we'll find, we used a certain word 7 times, right? Okay. It's okay. Running out of string, Bob. It doesn't make any sense. You're just seeing that there are certain words that are mentioned 7 times in certain books. Okay. Well, that's proof.
But that's just a coincidence, isn't it? Or maybe God is saying, hey, you want to look for something? Look up how many times something 7 shows up. And it's always something.
Quick. I picked one of those lists and just asked not ChatGPT, but Copilot. He says that phrase, the word, appears approximately 1,200 times in the Authorized King James Version, as opposed to just 7. Now, maybe Chat. I keep saying Chat GPT, but Copilot is using uppercase, lowercase, whatever. But yeah, he seems to be a little bit off on that little number.
Not surprised.
Big.
And
Just a
I've
coincidence?
already
I
found
don't think so.
more than 7 times perfectly using Bible.com.
Yeah, but if you divide by 7 and add 2 and multiply by 4 and add the original number back in and square root it, and if you do enough things, you'll get 7. That's what's amazing. Let's see. Picking on how many times Bob's done it. Yeah. We're not picking on Bob for being too scuzzy. He's apparently he does a lot of good stuff, and he lives modestly. So we're just picking on him because he finds 7s everywhere.
At least he's not seeing penises. He sees 7s.
Yeah, he has a lovely family and everything and all that, and we wish him well. We do. We like having a good time here with seeing if we can actually run out of string and tacks watching these videos. So it's never personal here. We invite the people often. We leave messages. That's why Brad did a review on us, because Mike dropped a message that we were looking at the stuff. It's all good. It's what we do on YouTube, and we don't get mean here. There's enough of that going on. Now, some folks have said some pretty personal things to us, and we responded back, but we also had a good laugh about it, right? Okay.
It's all in good fun.
Yeah. And of course, we don't agree with this stuff or anything like that. This is just this is not a serious takedown of anything. This is just I try to find really off the wall things to take a look at, because that's kind of my thing too. And these folks manage to take religious stuff to a whole other level.
This is definitely out there. Yeah, adding numbers to your religion seems just unnecessary.
And like Brad, he's just got his own church in his apartment. So that's God's way, I guess. It's just Brad and his apartment, and everybody else is out of luck. So might as well throw in the towel. So it's going to be Brad and Jesus and whatever was it, a couple angels up there or something, and they're going to be hanging out and giving us the nyas. So I'm not going to worry, because I'm not putting all the time and effort into it that the religious are, and they're all out of luck according to folks like Brad and this guy. So, and if they're right, heaven's getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. That's the right direction, right?
It is garbage.
There's some things that show up 77 times. In
Oh,
Christ,
yeah.
the phrase in Christ shows up 77 times. All forms of baptism show up 77 times. Amen with a capital A shows up 77 times. How about this one? If you follow the genealogy in the Bible, Jesus Christ is the 76th generation from Adam. But it says Adam is from God. He's the Son of God. So then Jesus is the 77th generation if you include God.
Oh, come on. You got to fudge God into it now?
When did God count as a generation? That doesn't even make sense.
Yeah, you fudging again, Bob.
So he says
You
God
fudging now.
is physical. If God is a generation, then God is
Yeah,
physical.
he had to be created then too, right?
Yeah, it's a generation, and it's not infinite, right?
God had a beginning then? Is that what you're saying, Bob? Come on.
Yeah, right, Stephanie. I mean, at least they're offering the virgins, right? Very little said about the Christian heaven. That's always been a problem of mine. that should be your selling point, right? You get to go to this awesome place. And there should be a lot of things in the Bible that keep talking about this awesome place, and there just isn't. So kind of always seemed kind of odd that their main selling point is barely mentioned in the Bible.
Wow. But just coincidence. There's nothing to see here, right? Or is God going, I like the number 7. Remember in Sunday school we talked about who was the 7th one that God took up into heaven? Enoch. So there's something about that number 7.
Well, okay, Enoch was the 7th one into heaven, all right? So the 6 prior people that went up into heaven are what? Chopped liver? I mean,
he cannot let the number go. That's his problem.
The first 6 everywhere. People are still in heaven, though, right? I mean, and so's number 8.
When you think about buying a car, like if you're like thinking about buying a specific type of car, you'll be driving around, you'll start seeing that car everywhere.
Yeah,
because you're thinking about buying that type of car.
Yeah,
it's just confirmation bias. So of course, if you think about 7 all the time, you're going to see 7s everywhere. and especially if you put it in your little computer thing, you're like, find all the things that correlate with the number 7 in the King James version of the Bible. It's like, of course, it's going to pump a bunch of random crap out.
And 72 virgins, that has the number 7 in it. See? And a 2. So it's actually a bonus. So it's actually 2 times 7. See? All right.
Ah, okay.
There you go. Okay. Let's play with numbers. Who else has got some numbers? Let's see. Here we go. He shoots craps. 7 times 11 equals 77. There you go. See? You can't lose. Pay the man.
Many things in the Bible are divisible by 7. Thus saith the Lord, 49 times. That's 7 times 7. Word of God, 49 times. Forgive, 49 times. Forgiveness, 42 times. 7 times 6.
All right. Now, see, now you're just...
And
well, before it was important.
He didn't go count all those words. He's just saying words and numbers. Like, I'm 100% sure it's all fake. He's saying.
Thus saith the Lord only 49 times in the King James version of the Bible? I don't think so.
And it's, well, a moment ago it was the words repeated in groups of 7. Like that's the sign of 7, right? But now he's just looking for any groups of words that can be divided by 7. And it's like, well, yeah, you keep expanding it out, Bob. I mean, it's getting less and less special when you keep including all these different groups because again, the more numbers you're given, the more numbers are going to be divisible by 7. That's, I'll agree with that. He's just including a larger group of numbers, right?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, Ember. I was like, there's no way these numbers are accurate. I don't believe it.
Yeah, that's again, we aren't clear about, like Scott mentioned earlier, you got 5 different versions, I think he said, of the KJV. So again, he can pick, which one has the right amount of words. And of course, we've already noticed Bob's shaving things a little bit, right? You got some extras. You can shave a few out of there. So
finished 42 times. Rested 21 times, 7 times 3. Witness 49 times. Bride 14 times.
Wait, he only finished
favor
42 times? That would be less than once a year for me. Oh, never mind.
Oh.
times. 7 times 10. And consecrate 14 times. But that's just a coincidence.
Well, that's really a crappy list, Bob, because, you went from just 7s to 42, 21, 14. Again, you're expanding and expanding the groups of numbers. And I just had like basic math classes in school. But to me, this is just expanding a group of numbers, and you're going to have more opportunities to find something that you can add, subtract, or multiply or divide by 7. okay, good for you. I'll agree with you. But I don't see why it's divine or why God's doing it, right? I mean, is anybody else getting the point of why God's doing these number tricks in there to?
Nope.
Well, some of these numbers were actually magic numbers all across the ancient Near East in, ancient times. And I think it just kind of leaked into the Hebrew Bible by osmosis, and it became that valuable to them. And it was the writers of the Old Testament putting together these stories that actually, it was them that the number 7 or 12 or 72 were valuable to. Also, I just did a search of the authorized version on Bible Gateway, and the word in none of the combinations that I looked at add up to 7 or even 49. I mean, they're either like 1200 or maybe 454, or if one of them's capitalized and the other one isn't, that adds up to more than 7. Or if both are capitalized, I find 5. So maybe he meant 5 round up to 7, because you can round up in accounting and other things to get the numbers you're looking for. So he may be rounding up to 7 in a few cases.
I think maybe Ember called it. It's not that deep. He's repeating shit he heard and read somewhere without checking.
Yeah.
Or he's just making it up.
All of the above.
Well, how come?
Because if there are 1,200 mentions of something, the same thing in the Bible, then there's at least 7. So 7, might as well just say 7.
Right. Yeah. Here's 7 of them. Yeah. But I'm not. Yeah. For how much he's going on, and if he's lying, if he's just delusional, if he's just wanting to write books, whatever. I'm still trying to dig into what is the point and why would God do this. For me, it doesn't make any sense to put these hidden codes in there.
Well, he gets to feel special because he found it.
Well, in the first place, I mean, people weren't literate, right? So you had a big literacy problem, much less people that not only could read but also do math and would be sitting down, keeping track of, how many of all these different words are in there, just to go, aha, there's 7, right? And it once again, God didn't give a crap if anybody got the proper word, which these folks are all hellfire, right? Mm-hmm. To get the proper word to avoid the hellfire, until we got computers to spit out the groups of numbers that you found in a certain version of the Bible. Wow. Yeah. Talk about nationalist. I mean, we are so special, right? I mean, wow.
Exactly. Well, these people read that we're following the correct version of the Bible. That's how I added them up to 7, because it was all these correct versions that follow the one version that I follow. So it makes sense.
And forget all the prophets that God spoke to in the Bible and all. Forget all that. They weren't getting it either, because they didn't have this code, right? And they didn't have the KJV. So they're all out of luck too, I guess. I mean, the folks like this got a really, really small heaven. You know what I mean?
He would say they understood it, all the message clearly back then, and the message was lost. And now he understands it nowadays. But maybe those people back then understood it.
The lost knowledge thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
I'm just
I didn't think of that
play
one.
devil's advocate for him. You know what I mean?
No, that's a good point. They often bring that up. Yeah, Adam and Eve knew everything, right?
Yeah, of course. They were perfect.
Right. Okay. Yeah, fair point. We got to throw that out there.
Yeah, he may be getting the joy of discovering it for himself, but he's probably going to get the joy of that love offering that they're going to take up at the end of this speaking tour. I'm more into the fertility gods myself.
Cool.
have that too. That would show that God was in the new versions, right? But they don't do that. Maybe God's not in favor of the new versions. Probably the most amazing thing is this. The word blood is found 447 times in the King James Bible, while the word sin is found 447 times. So for every sin in the King James Bible, there's enough blood to cover it.
Well, that has nothing to do with number 7. Now we're just finding numbers that match up. And of course, like,
according to this,
I think Scott was leaning towards is, people writing this could have wrote in intentionally numbers like something like this to perfectly balance it out, right?
Yeah, of course.
Go ahead, Scott.
The word sin in the Bible 389 times. And
There you go.
What was the other one? Forgiven? Or what was the other word he was talking about?
Yeah, forgiven
Blood?
was one of them.
Yeah.
Forgiven and then blood. Let's try. I think blood happens a few more times than what he's saying. 375 times.
He's got a lot more. He's got 447.
Yeah. So
Bob, are you fudging numbers again, Bob?
What's the point?
Without even going to look it up, you know what? I think you're getting numbers from different versions here, Bob, which is a no-no. I'm getting that feeling, Bob.
Yeah, did he
Maybe.
go outside the King James Version?
Just maybe he did, yeah.
could he be stealing the numbers from the Gematria people from like the Hebrew Bible? Now, of course, that wouldn't account for New Testament numbers, but it could very well be that a word translated sin into English may not have may have more numbers like that. Not more numbers, more different words. So you could pick the wrong set of words for sin from the Hebrew and bring it over, and it be it not really be a good match. So I don't know.
We should email him and ask him to show us his work.
Show me
His
your
math work.
methodology, your algorithm. That's probably good.
Tell us
Yeah, make
five
it
things.
available free on the website.
Tell us 5 things you did last week.
That didn't involve lying.
No lying, Bob. Come on.
Not in new versions. What do new versions do? They add the word sin more, and they take the word blood out. So there's more sin and less blood in new versions of the Bible.
Oh, righty then.
He's really
If it's
excited
blood
about
that means lineage, should it be counted?
Yeah, this Oceanus here with numerology is superstition for people who think they are too smart to be superstitious. And yeah, that's the thing with this. They don't want to call it numerology because they'll say that's a cult and stuff. But that's exactly what they're doing. It's exactly what they're doing.
This is Bible math, sir.
You still want to use a new version?
Yeah.
I don't. But that's on you.
Okay.
But there's much, much more showing the mathematical perfection of the King James Bible. For more, see Truth is Christ and get...
Yeah, check out Truth is Christ channel. If you're into far out stuff, absolutely go check it out. I did. Pretty far out for me, and I'm pretty far out there. So that's where he's getting this info from, and yeah, he's using a computer algorithm, and it spits out number patterns. That's what it's doing, and I'm almost 100% convinced that you could do it with any book. So
His book, sealed by the King. There's so much, so much. Let me just give you some of the examples that he gives. Okay, I can't even give you maybe 10% of them. But this is enough to blow your mind. Watch what happens.
all right, I'm ready to have my mind blown, Bob. You guys ready to have your minds blown?
Yeah, give it to me, Bob.
Come on, Bob. You're losing the audience here, Bob. Come on.
Brother Brandon says there are a plethora of micro patterns in the King James Bible that show the fingerprints of God in that translation.
Now we're talking.
God was all over the King James Bible because he said, I'm going to do it 7 times. This is going to be number 7. And we're going to see God's fingerprints. For example, you take the first and last words of the first and last verses in the King James Bible, and guess what it comes out to? If you count those words, 77,777 times. Just a coincidence, that number 7. Or could God be saying, hey, I want to show you that, when I was in school, you know what they taught me? The only thing that can't lie is math. Well, if you do it right, if you do this Common Core stuff, maybe it can. But that's not real.
Yeah, Bob, if you do it right.
Oh, Common Core. Bob, we're questioning your math, Bob. So I wouldn't be taking digs at Common Core
if I was you. You're just not a true mathematician, Dave?
I don't have no God glasses, I'll admit. Maybe that's the problem.
You're not a true mathematician.
Yeah. Well, there is that video of that guy that says, if the Bible said 2 + 2 was 5, he would believe it. So he's got primo God glasses, and I guess they're limited edition, maybe. So again, narrowing it down, right? fewer people. They're dwindling it down. They're going to all be sitting around one table for dinner in heaven. Seriously, that's how few it's going to be.
Do you think that there's going to be like 7 of them?
Oh. Or divisible by 7, maybe 14.
Yeah, okay, 14. We'll give them 14.
The only thing that can't lie is math. So God is a mathematical God. Isn't that something?
I don't remember ever being told that math can't lie. Now, this is bugging me.
No, wait a minute. There's lies, damned lies, and statistics.
Correct.
Which one of those is Bob doing right now?
Well, I know that 80% of statistics are made up on the spot, so.
That's right. Absolutely
That's
true.
True 85% of the time.
That's 110% true. Okay. We'll leave it there. We'll leave it there.
Here's an interesting side note. There were 7 final standardizations of the King James Bible. What does that mean? Well, they got the spelling. Like Old English, son was S-O-N-N-E, so they changed it to S-O-N. They're not changing words. They're just changing the spelling. But
okay.
the last time, the 7th time, would be 1769. And that count of 77,777 only works if you count that one right there.
Oh, once again.
Look at the pointer. Look at the pointer. Look at the pointer.
So he's cherry picking the 1769 version.
You have to be the 1769 version, right? You mentioned that earlier, Scott.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. There you go. You got to have that version. Even though we don't think that's where he's getting all his numbers from, Bob.
We're going to get God's fingerprint out of this?
Well, you look at all those 7s.
Yeah, sure. That's a lot of 7s.
That's a lot of 7s.
16s and 11.
Oh, yeah.
69's in there.
That's in the fine print.
Thought that was the devil's number.
So they were still doing the standardization until they got it perfect. Do we have God's perfect word today in the King James Bible? I believe we do. I believe we do. Here's an interesting one.
For no reason, I believe they do.
They got the perfect word, which, again, doesn't make any sense to me. What is the perfect word, right? It's every word is perfect. Whoa.
How could Jesus be the perfect word when they actually called him something else in the Greek New Testament? And on the streets of Galilee or whatever, they wouldn't have called him Jesus. It can't be the perfect name.
Yeah,
that's how they would not have called him Jesus on the streets in Galilee and Jerusalem. It'd be Yeshua or Yeshu or something like that.
That just sounds like the orange guy, It's perfect. It's totally perfect. It's like, what does perfect mean? Okay. Every word in the Bible is perfect. So if you use a word that's in the Bible, you are using perfect words. So
it's some nice circular reasoning.
Yeah, use one of them colorful pens, you know, the floral color, or what do they call it, pastel colored pens, you know.
The diagrams that
They're
he has
special
up with the
words.
circles on it.
Yeah, put little smiley faces over the eyes and stuff, you know. Yeah, special words.
Take the New Testament and you divide it into odd books and even books. Then Jesus' name shows up 70 times 7, or 490 times in the odd books, and Jesus' name shows up 490 times in the even books. Just a coincidence?
Again, they could have done it on purpose.
Probably not. Yeah.
or you're making up numbers again, Bob.
I was
So
distracted by the side chat. What's the claim being made here? 70 times 7 in the Old Testament versus New Testament?
Yeah, Jesus is mentioned 70 times 70 times. Now, for one thing, there's the big question of, is Jesus mentioned in the Old Testament?
Which is,
and I don't think he is.
Yeah, no.
And
according to the Jewish people who wrote it.
So where he's getting those numbers from right off is suspect without even opening a Bible, because yeah, they use all different kind of things and stories and prophecies about people that were not about Jesus, like about the things about Israel and everything.
You see,
being a suffering servant.
Audience in front of them. You have this audience in front of them. Their mouths are hanging open. They've got their King James Bible in front of them, but he's not really referring to any location in the King James Bible.
No,
so maybe they're taking notes, or maybe there's a handout and they're just kind of going through it. Maybe one out of that entire congregation is going to take all this information and go home and start counting stuff up in their authorized version. Hopefully they'll use Bible Gateway so that they don't waste their finest years trying to do all this searching and stuff. But then they're going to realize that this guy was lying through his ass. But they gave him that love offering at the end of the service when they did the altar call.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah, and so he's got the money. He's taking it with him. Turns out he was lying through his ass. And that only that one person knows, because they tried to look up the numbers themselves.
Well, like I said,
they're not going to tell anyone else either. They're going to be like, well, I feel like the Lord was still speaking through him.
As long as it strengthened their faith.
That's right. Amen.
Well, I said, without even looking this up, I'm going to question that, because I don't think Jesus is in the Old Testament. So I'm going to give this a big old wah, wah, wah.
Yeah, I don't think Jesus is ever mentioned in the Old Testament. So
well, they may be cheating by saying, okay, anytime it says Son of God
or Messiah,
Jesus, or there when Jacob was wrestling with that angel, it was actually Jesus. It was a pre-incarnate Christ, and they were wrestling, and then he reached down and touched his thigh and broke his hip.
Oh,
and then
Jesus is strong.
The criteria being used is kind of wacky.
Yeah, so we're gonna give this one a super fail, Bob. I was, you were losing us, Bob. We were trying to get inspired with this fingerprint of God, and
take the scissors and cut the string at this point.
Yeah, I know. I got to just start all over, because this is a big zero here, Bob.
Yeah, probably. Or not. Maybe, just maybe.
Or not. We're giving it the not.
God in heaven said, I'm doing what I promised, and I'm going to purify it 7 times.
No, Bob. No. You didn't purify anything. Back to the purifying thing. How did you purify something that you made up? Because there's no way these numbers are good. There's no way.
Psalm 12:6, if you read it right, God's word had already been purified. So sorry, it's already been purified, and you're just fouling it up with all your English machinations.
Bob, you have been foiled.
About this one, let's take the word Jesus, and let's take the word Christ, and let's look up how many times Jesus and Christ together show up in the King James Bible. While it's 980 times here and 574 times here, so together that's 1,554 times. And guess what that is? That's 777 plus 777.
Oh, wow. Good thing I started over because I needed that piece of string. These numbers don't match up like the other ones. So he added them together and then took, okay. Bob. Now, some of the earlier ones were kind of interesting. Okay.
How many times did he say Jesus and Christ appeared together? 1,200?
Let's see. I have to rerun it.
He has a perfect diagram. He has
Christ.
little circles.
And let's look up how many times Jesus and Christ
circles
together show up in the King James Bible. While it's 980 times here.
980.
No, it's 187.
And 574 times here.
At 574 there. So you got 174. That's neither one of those numbers.
It's 187, yeah. Weird. Now, in all the topical subjects, it appears a little bit more, but that's not the Bible. So I don't know where he's getting this or what he's qualifying.
Bob. Where's Stephanie at? He's somebody calling the fibbing here. Forketh, tongueth. Calling you, Bob.
So together, that's 1,554 times. And guess what that is? That's 777 plus 777. Oh, what? Just a coincidence, though. Nothing to...
No, that's... Yeah, that's some real stretching on that one, Bob.
It's just a coincidence, though.
I'd leave that one out next time, Bob. Don't use that one. That's not a good one.
See here. No,
But he
all
made a
Bibles
nice
are
little
the same.
diagram.
Yeah, it's sad, isn't it? Made the nice slide and but no, we don't recommend that one, Bob. Some of the earlier stuff was kind of interesting, but you're kind of falling off here. We need another interesting one. Come on, you got to have something good here, Bob.
Give us something
Hey,
juicy.
don't
He
worry
said
about
that was
it.
going to be juicy. He
That's
lied.
what they try to
Yeah, I
tell
know.
you. You're in a cult if you're King James only. Am I? Or could I have the right one that's mathematically perfect?
Am I in a cult? No, I'm not in a cult. I just have a book that's mathematically perfect. That doesn't sound cultish at all, Bob. Not at all. I know.
And God, through math, is showing you. If you
Is
take
there
the word
anybody
Father,
in that auditorium or wherever he's speaking that's got Bible Gateway on their phone? Why aren't they checking this out?
They don't fact check. That's a new question. God.
Yeah, at the beginning, he was saying hello to, everybody. I don't remember names. I'm not going to say the names or anything, but so I don't think it's a really big church. But yeah, you figure at least one person would have a smartphone out. But they got the Bible right there too. Of course, I guess you can't count all this stuff up.
And I think that's kind of what he's counting on.
Yeah. I mean, Christianity teaches people not to question things because that's a big no-no.
A lot of these, and any of this stuff where they give you way too much of this stuff in slides like this, it's always to overwhelm the audience because there's no way they can check it. Even if they had a smartphone, it's hard to check in real time and keep up with the conversation at the same time.
Yeah, that reminds
because
me
he has
of
that
having
added
It's
unused level of you don't understand the way we're doing these numbers. You don't understand the way we're collating these words or whatever.
it's a form of a gishgalop, right? That
William Lane
you're just
Craig
overwhelming people, and they're just like, oh, okay, wow, that's so much stuff. I guess it must be right. Yeah.
At my church back in the day, William Lane Craig would show up with his slideshow, and it would just be like, "Ugh, stop!"
So much stuff, right?
Yeah.
There's no way. Even people that are up on things, you just can't fact check in real time, and especially if you're doing a debate, there's absolutely no way.
Yeah, that was the
and
90s,
they
man.
they count on that.
that are all capitalized, and Son when it's all capitalized in the King James Bible, and you add those together, it's 70 times 7.
Weak.
Jesus said, I and my Father are one.
If why didn't it add up to 1 then, or a nice round number, or you know what I mean? I'm
like his
once again, I'm not seeing where this is saying, Dave, can't you see that this is God in this book, right? What I'm seeing, some really bad math and some number tricks and a little bit of fudging the numbers.
So he's taking the word Father and finding the capitalized word Father in the entire Bible or just the New Testament?
Well, these are overlapping. So
yeah, and then he's finding the word Son, capital S, and adding those up.
And that's suspicious too.
So if it's Father space Son, that's where we should get the 70 times 7?
Yep.
I guess.
So once again, he's picking and choosing here to get what he wants.
Yeah, I don't know how you do that on Bible Gateway, because is it Father, comma, Son, Father and Son? There's no actually Father Son, without some sort of punctuation there. So I don't know how he would how I would do that, and it doesn't matter. He's lying.
Let's see. We get,
and I'm going to purify it 7 times. How about this one? Let's take the word Jesus, and let's take the word Christ, and let's look up how many times Jesus and Christ together show up in the King James Bible. Well, it's 980 times here and 574 times here. So together, that's 1,554 times. And guess what that is? That's 777 plus 777.
Right. Here's the other one.
What? Just a coincidence, though. Nothing to see here. No,
Nope.
All Bibles are the same. Don't worry about it. That's what they try to tell you. You're in a cult if you're King James only.
Yep.
Am I? Or could I have the
Yes.
right one that's
Yep.
mathematically perfect?
Yep.
And God, through math, is showing you.
Or if you're
You
in
take
King
the
James
word
only, you're
Father,
just
that-
ignorant and ill-informed.
Yep. Yeah, here's the father-son thing.
They're all capitalized, and Son when it's all capitalized in the King James Bible. And you add those together, it's 70 times 7.
All right, in the Bible, it's father and son, the entire Bible.
That's what.
It's
yeah, but
7,
only if you count the
7.
ones that he counts. But we already figured that out.
that are all caps. So for some reason, he's picking just the capitalized ones because the other ones throw his count off, don't they? And why would you leave out the other fathers and sons? Are they not important anymore, Bob? You're leaving more people out, aren't you, Bob?
Guys, I'm getting quite tired, so I'm gonna go sleep.
All right.
All right, Brainless, you have a good night. We'll see you later.
It's great having you here tonight.
Yeah, night.
Good night.
Just another 7. How about this one? Let's take the words the Father, the Word, and Holy Ghost, and let's look at how many times they show up. Okay.
Real quick before we do that, I come up with, for Father plus Son, with just the first letter capitalized, is 1,637 times in the King James Bible, the authorized King James Bible. So 70 times 7 is what, 490?
Yes.
So I think that's he has the wrong answer there.
Bob, are you fudging some more math, Bob? It's just not as much fun, Bob, when when you're fudging the numbers.
The Father shows up 218 times. The Word shows up 468 times. And Holy Ghost shows up 90 times. Oh, yeah, whatever. Oh, well, let's add it together. It adds up to 777 times. Are you starting to see why the King James Bible? There are people out there say, oh, you're a cult, you King James Bible. Well, I'll be a member of this cult then because I like math, and I think it's proving the math that this is the one that God says, hey, see that? That's my fingerprint right there because I'm a God of numbers. Do you know there's a book in the Bible called the Book of Numbers?
Yeah, Bob. But see, once again, I'm not seeing why it's 3 times as important to have 777. I thought 7 is like the God number and 6 is the man number, right? So why is what is the significance of 777? You know, if you're arguing for the 7s, now you have to go all the way to 777s by adding up large groups of numbers that you, I mean, with all the, I mean, you picked what, 3 choices here so far? I'm sure there's many, many more that you could do the same things with or wouldn't work out at all in your favor. But you're now going to 777, not just the 7. So any version of 7s or 777 or multiples of 7, that's a lot of words, Bob. This is not like, hello, here I am, I'm God, right? This is just a lot of words in the Bible. I mean, I'm not getting it, Bob. You know, why is this proving the Bible that you can find these groups of words that you can find divisions of or add them together to find 777, not even the number 7 anymore?
I think it's interesting that he went from, I'm not in a cult, it's a book of perfect numbers, to, hey, if you think I'm in a cult, that's fine. I want to be in that cult. Now he is in a cult. Which is it, Bob?
And you always got to be...
Can you decide if he's in a cult or not?
You're always suspect when somebody says, I'm not in a cult.
No, he just said he wants to be in the cult now.
Well, sure. He wants to run...
Like, which is it?
Yeah, he wants to run it with the Truth in Christ guy or whatever that channel is.
Crazy, dude.
You think
and Brad.
God's trying to say, you know, doesn't God say that a man who counts this number is wise? Doesn't it say that in Revelation chapter 13? That who...
He counts these numbers as wise. That's talking about the beast and stuff in Revelation. That's... No, Bob.
If any man be wise, let him count this number. And there's a certain number. So you want wisdom, maybe you should learn to count. You know, when you pick
says,
out
let
the new version,
he who has understanding count the number of the beast.
Yeah.
It's kind of a tortured use of the New Testament text.
Even I know that verse, Bob. Jeez. See, this is the thing. I know the Bible enough, you know what I mean? And when I automatically just, boom, things are popping into my head, I'm like, oh, come on, Bob. You know, I'm not, like a lot of these fine folks online, like Kip and everybody else that does an amazing job. I'm just Joe Guy that's read the Bible, and you're disappointing me. And we got Chris stopping through. Hello, Chris. Good to see you. Have a good evening to you. Yeah, Bob's telling us to learn how to count. Well, you know, I'm that desktop idiot. So, and, you know, just for anybody that missed it, you know.
No such thing as an atheist. You guys do not exist. Hey, answers in atheism, and that desktop idiot, and that desktop idiot, and that desktop idiot, you're full. See here, dead fly. Dead fly. billions and billions of years ago, in a galaxy far, far away, nothing exploded. Dead fly. You call me crazy. Plan of thy destruction. Wait a minute, am I reading the right thing? And you know what, atheist? You're right. And you know what, atheist? You're right. And you know what, atheist? You're right. Oh, you atheist, especially that one desktop idiot. Self-theist, man of thy destruction. Wait a minute, am I reading the right thing? On you. That's why I say, hey, have a great time. Hey there, Answers in Atheism or Atheist, whatever you are. Oh, you atheist, especially that one desktop idiot. And you know what? There, atheist, you're right. Unless the Lord Jesus Christ saves you, you are going to go to hell and burn forever. That's going to be it for this little video.
All right. And yeah,
The Bible, they take
for
out
folks that missed that, a couple of weeks ago, we covered Brad, and he did a response video to us. And I'm the desktop idiot, and Mike and Scott are the idiots from Answers in Atheism. He didn't mention the rest of us, but, it's implied.
He thought for some reason Mike was lying about being in his 70s.
Yeah, he thinks that Mike trolls people as an old dude, and he's not really an old dude or something. And he called me boy, and I pulled the age card on him, and I said, hey, I'm older than you, because he let it slip how old he was having a birthday in his video. And I'm like, hey, I'm older than you, and Mike's older than me, so maybe you ought to respect your elders.
How old did he say he was?
50.
I was going to guess 50.
Or is he lying about his age for the camera?
He was making a point of saying the big 5-0 or whatever, so I'll say
maybe the next decade or so he'll wisen up.
So anyway, but Brad doesn't have a lot to say other than the same thing over and over, so we didn't really feel there was anything more to talk back and forth with Brad about. It would have been fun to go back and forth a little bit, but there wasn't really anything there. So I had this thing in my head and brainless talking about how loud he is all the time and yelling. And I'm like, yeah, it's like thrash metal where the guy's just yelling something, F the government or something. And, then thrash metal, digga. So I just went to AI. I made up a little AI heavy thrash there and threw the clips in. And that's our response. And I tagged it, so he'll get the message unless he's blocked me or something. And maybe he'll see it and have a good laugh because it was supposed to be funny.
verses. You go from verse 35 to verse 37. They don't even know how to count. Maybe they should learn math. Maybe they learn which Bible's the right one. Anyway, all right, enough of that. Let's continue here. And what are we doing? We're going to this here. Let's take the words God, Father, Jesus, and Christ. Those 4 words, and let's see how many times they show up. Well, 4,103 times God, 272 times Father, Jesus 980, Christ 500. That takes us to 5929, which is 77 times 77.
Okay. Wow. You're going farther. The circle's getting bigger and bigger, Bob. You're just really reaching here. I mean, it's fun. And I mean, if you need a hobby, I suppose, you know, something to do. But I'm still lost how this proves to anybody that's reading the Bible that it's from God, right? That's
so he
supposed
says
to be the point.
980 for the name Jesus, but I only get 943. And then you have to, are you going to take away the times where it was like Jesus Barabbas and there's another Jesus? You have to take at least 2 away from that for not referring to, you know, Jesus of Nazareth or Jesus Christ or, you know, that number. Or does he just any amount of Jesus count? I don't know.
Yeah, sorry.
These are unanswered questions that a person with a mind for numbers would provide.
Yeah, but it's not. It's just not like it's something special or anything. Yeah, and I should give a headphone warning. I'm sorry about that. That's one of the things Brainless just couldn't listen to his videos because he'll be talking and then he just gets so loud, and yeah, it's really hard to listen to. He needs to keep it within a more of a smaller range because that's really hard to listen to when he gets so loud and then speak really quiet too. But yeah, you know, we had our fun with Brad, so there you go. And this circle here, this is a big circle. And again, knowing how you can do some of these things with math, this is fun. It is. It's fun with numbers. Okay. Numbers are a lot of fun. A lot of these tricks you can do and everything, and the patterns that come out are a lot of fun. But that aside, other than entertaining people, I don't see how it proves the KJV is the book to follow or it's the word of God. It's just fun. That's all. It's just, like I say, you can do this with just about any book. And, you know, again, I bring up the example. They have things like the similarities between Kennedy and Lincoln being taken out, right? That Kennedy was in a Lincoln, which is a Ford product, and Lincoln was taken out in Ford Theater, right? And you can go looking through these, enough of people's lives or enough of a big enough book, let's take like Moby Dick or War and Peace or some of these really thick books, and you can find a lot of number patterns in them. I guarantee if I use the same program he's using over at Jesus's Truth or whatever, it's going to come out with a lot of number fun. And it would be a lot of fun to go through it, but it doesn't take me to divine. You know what I mean? I'm not getting that string over here to this tack that says divine on it. That's the one we aren't getting to here, Bob.
Wow. Here's the math. If you want to do it, let's add it up. Look at that. 5920. That's 77 times 77. But you know what most pastors say? Oh, if you use a King James, you're a cult. It's archaic and hard. No, that's not a good Bible. You need our Bible. It's better.
And again, that was, once again, Bob, we went from 7, which is supposed to be the magic number, to using 777 to make the numbers work, to using 77 times 77 to make the numbers work. Well, what's the 77 times 77 thing mean, right? You went from the 1 7 being God to 3 7s to 77 times 77. But what do those mean? Those aren't the 7 that's supposed to be God and 6 is man. You know, you're way off of that too. So I can't even follow your supposedly divine showing of the number 7 in the King James Bible when you're using all different combinations of 7s now. You're expanding the multiplication factors exponentially huge here, Bob. I mean, sure, you give me this much, you need a lot smaller range, and then you would impress me.
I don't think they know what they're talking about. I think they need to go back to remedial math class.
Yeah.
Because if they did, they would be like, wow, the King James is amazing. It's a wonder in the world in these last.
This is not math class. This is I don't even know the term. Somebody know the term for what this is, what math tricks are actually, what the term is for that? I know there's a word for it, but
bullshit with numbers.
Yeah, there's I know the word, but anyway, yeah, you can do these things. Numbers work that way. Possibly. But this is how math works, and when he's saying you need to learn some math, I'd throw it right back at you, Bob, that this is how math works. And when you play around with math, you can find all these patterns and, things that if you multiply and multiply and multiply, it comes out to a number pattern like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All these little math tricks. I had a whole book of them, and it's really neat. They are really neat tricks. And it's weird how it works out. And I don't really understand it all. I'm not a mathematician. But I understand that these patterns can be set up in the math formulas. And again, magicians use these when they say pick a number and they can guess your number, right? They're using these math tricks and they always work. And that's why the magician can always guess what your number is. He's using these time trusted, is that what the phrase is?
Time proven, time trusted, yeah.
Yeah, methods that no matter what, they can always guess your number if they use these math formulas. So it's a lot of fun, Bob. It really is. I like doing it. I love doing it. I like when the magicians do it because I know what they're doing. It's a lot of fun.
Rebasing math? Is that the word we were looking for?
What's that?
Oh, I like we had the suggestions for the type of math he's doing is matho-magic.
Oh, yeah.
One word I found was pseudo-mathematics.
Yeah, well, of course, we got cherry picking. We got
bovine scatology. Yeah.
See, I found the word pseudo-mathematics by adding up the seventh letter of each verse of the King James Bible.
Yeah.
And then dividing by 7 times 77 times 49, which is, of course, 7 times 7 as well.
Yeah, freebasing math. Math magicians is time tested. Thank you. Alternative math. There we go. Alternative math, of course.
Good one.
Latter days. This is Genesis chapter 1, just the first chapter of the King James Bible. And you total, every time God says something, it totals up to 343 words that God says in Genesis chapter 1. And guess what? That's 7 times 7 times 7. 343.
And now you're 7 times 7 times 7. You just opened up a whole other exponential group of numbers to go through. Okay. Again, I'm agreeing with what you're doing. Absolutely. Every time you give yourself more options, you're going to find more patterns. Yes. But you've totally deviated from the number 7, which, again, I'm going to have to point out the number 7 is supposed to be the special number. Not 7 times 7 times 7. That's reaching, Bob.
You see what we're doing here?
Just in chapter 1, it added up to 343?
Yep.
And that was God said, or just anytime God said something?
God speaks.
God speaks. Is that what he?
God speaks is 7 times 7 times 7.
Well, I don't even know what would count as that. There's God spake. There's God spoke. God speaks.
You know what most pastors say?
Let me check it again here.
King James, you're a cult. It's archaic and hard. No, that's not a good Bible. You need our Bible. It's better. I don't think they know what they're talking about. I think they need to go back to remedial math class.
I think what they're thinking about is how it most accurately conforms to the Greek or the Hebrew text. And then they use those translations. Translations from the original text do not all come out to the same number. And why are we biasing English as the one in which all the numbers ought to add up? Once again, there was the Spanish version or the Spanish translation from around the same time.
He's also not in the cult again. Just wanted to point that out.
Yeah.
He's back out of the cult. And
because you need to point that out 7 times 70.
We got a critic. I didn't even know you were in. You're exactly like the Christians you shit on. You can't have an honest conversation. I've been trying really hard to connect the dots here. I'm sorry. I have to disagree with you. Really. I mean, I've been trying absolutely really, really hard to connect these dots. It's what I like to do with
so who is this
and everything.
Progenies person who just popped
Isogenes, I don't know. They said they're out. I'm out.
It's a God seed sock.
Were you ever in? So I mean,
well, he was timed out for verbally abusing.
Oh, okay. All right, no problems then. Because once again, you can post whatever, but I'm gonna say that I disagree. I've been really trying to find where this would take me back to anything divine. That's what it's supposed to be about, right? I'm granting the number tricks, and I'm granting that if you give yourself enough words and enough of a number base to go through, you can find a lot of groups of numbers and picking which words, because you're also, this is what do you call the turkey shoot fallacy, right? How many words is he leaving out that do not make any pattern, right? That's hits and misses, right?
Yeah.
If you have enough of a base, and the Bible's a pretty big book, what they said, 80,000 words or whatever he said it was, you got a lot of words to pick from. Yeah, I'm granting you all that. But I'm not seeing, okay, this is a sign from God. Again, because what about these people for the last how many thousands of years? Because you're not just talking about Jesus, you're talking about before Jesus. You're talking about 4,000 years. These people were not getting the word correctly because you didn't have computer programs to figure this stuff out, to show this pattern, to show that you have to be in the King James, what is it, Scott?
Authorized
1789, is that what we're doing?
1769.
1769 version.
All right.
So you had to at least be to 1769 and guess that was the right one. And then to confirm it, you have to wait until almost the 21st century with a computer to chase these number patterns down, because really, I can't see anybody sitting down and just writing down how many of every word
maybe that's
is
why
in
the
the
math
Bible.
is so terrible, because someone did that and they just got it all wrong.
Yeah, I mean, how do you even start that list? I mean, wow, that's an undertaking. Reading the Bible is one thing, but writing down how many times every single word is in there, that would be an undertaking. It really would. And that's why I don't think anybody ever did it, because aren't you just supposed to read the Bible? I'm still stuck on that one too. What's the point of doing all this extra stuff? God's word is clear, right? You read the Bible.
Specifics.
Yeah, you're with God when you're with the Word, or however that saying goes, right? It's all about reading the Bible and believing the Bible, and then it reaffirms your belief in the Bible.
I wonder if at any point during his presentation he offers some sort of document of methodology, because here I'm saying I can't find this number, in Bible Gateway, where you can literally count the number of times where Jesus and Christ appear together. It took some doing, but you can even capital the word, with a capital W. You can count those out. None of them add up to what he says they do. Yet he's probably going to say I was doing it wrong. Well, what's the right way to do it? What's his methodology? That's something I'm sure he's keeping like as a backup holster when somebody asks that, so he can tell them they're doing it wrong. We've got this method and we follow this method, and that's how you come up with the number. But how many exceptions or ad hocs does that method have for each word that they're trying to look up?
These folks they write their own little programs, and then they use the things like you were mentioning earlier, that they have these different versions of the patterns, like every seventh word or every so many letters, and then it automatically goes through and picks those out and everything. It's a lot of again, they're using numerology, but they don't want to call it that, because as soon as they do, then you're right back to the Bible saying don't do witchcraft and everything, right?
It's a wonder in the world in these latter days. This is Genesis chapter 1, just the first chapter of the King James Bible. And you total, every time God says something, it totals up to 343 words that God says in Genesis chapter 1. And guess what? That's 7 times 7 times 7. 343. You see what we're doing here? Wow, that's pretty amazing. All right, let's do this just for funsies. Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's take...
Yeah, I'm ready. This is fun. It really is. Go ahead. You're not convincing me of divinity, but this is a lot of fun. Go ahead.
Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And let's look up every time that Father and Son shows up in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Okay? So Father shows up 43 times, Son shows 53 times, so that's 97 times in Matthew. In Mark, Father shows up 5 times, Son 26 times, that's 31 times. In Luke, Father is 17 times, Son is 41 times, so that's 58 times. In John, Father's 114 times, Son is 43 times, that's 157. Okay, let's do the math. What is
when he said let's look up, he really didn't mean let's look up. He meant we're going to do it for you. Here it is.
Yeah.
Comes up to 343, or 7 times 7 times 7.
Yeah, see, once again, you're picking on, wow. You're adding this all up. You're not finding it in one book. You're adding up all the books to get the number. Wow, Bob. Yeah, I'll grant you to. Again, you're giving yourself a lot of leeway. And again, from what we've already looked up, you don't seem to be giving the right numbers either. So I'm already going to question that these are accurate. And then you're getting this big, huge number. And then again, well, what does 7 times 7 times 7 mean? You haven't given meaning to that, right? I understand the meaning to 7. I get that. But I'm not getting what the multiplications of 7 mean. Is that supposed to mean more God? Right? I mean, what's the significance of it, Bob? I'm not getting the significance of more 7s or groups of 7s. I get the significance of 7. And I'm not getting what the rest of it means. And you've totally left the path of showing a pattern of 7s in the Bible. This is multiplications and divisions of 7s.
How many days in a week are there? 7.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
But this is all just a great big coinky-dink.
I say coinkydink. Thanks, Bob. I like saying coinkydink.
There's nothing to see. Sometimes I feel like I'm in front of a fireworks going off, and behind me a factory on fire of fireworks, and it's exploding. And I'm like, nothing to see here. And all these people, wow, looking. Yeah, there's
Naked Gun reference.
plenty to see here, isn't there? It's God's fingerprints on the King James Bible saying, look, if you just learn how to count, you'll see that this is the seventh one that I said I would do this with.
I just did the father thing, and he's off by at least 23, 24, like that.
Yeah. Well, even if we grant this, once again, this doesn't explain why God left 4,000 people confused with the wrong versions as part of the plan, Bob. Right? This just adds more to the confusion of why does God do these screwball things? Right? I mean, what? Again, I'm taking it all the way up to the 21st century before you could have figured out which Bible you're supposed to be reading. 4,000 years, 2,000 years since Jesus, 2,000 years of Judaism, 4,000 years, Bob. And all those people had the wrong information. And according to you and our buddy Brad, they're hellbound from not getting the right book.
Needs to feel special.
Sounds pretty stupid. Once again, and I'm not saying this to you, Bob. I'm saying your God explanation is stupid. Your God sounds stupid. If the plan was to bring the stuff down through all the prophets and all the divine inspiration and all the scribes and authors to get this written down, only to have them wrong for all this time until they finally get it figured out.
So you have the slideshow.
Until you get the slideshow.
Yeah.
That makes so much more sense, right? I mean, so then what? God wasn't giving the prophets the right information all that time, right? I mean, you're bringing all these questions out, Bob. You know what? Why was God messing with all these people? Why was God telling people to write down incorrect things? Why didn't he just wait until the 21st century when we could run an algorithm? Seems intentionally deceitful.
Mysterious ways.
Very mysterious. Always pull out the mysterious ways. Divine hiddenness. Any excuse to scapegoat away things that make absolutely no sense. Like this, Bob.
How do you deny it? Here's the words Moses and God's and Jesus, and it's got an apostrophe, okay? You've got to learn how he does this. Sometimes if it's an apostrophe, you count it. Sometimes you don't.
Sometimes you count it, and sometimes you don't. Why is that, Bob? Why is that, Bob? Okay.
But if you do this and you go through this, I think it shows up Moses 847 times, God 4,102 times, and Jesus 980 times. Let's add those all together. It's 5929 or 77 times 77.
Once again, when he said let's add this together, he didn't mean let's. It means I'm going to do it, and here it is. Don't bother doing it yourself.
Yeah, deconverted man got it. Sometimes you count it, sometimes you don't. Yeah, because it wasn't adding up the way he liked it. So, and he specifically said the ones with the apostrophes, sometimes you count them, sometimes you don't. It's not that you don't count the ones with or without apostrophes. He specifically said you count the ones with apostrophes, but only to get the number that he wanted. Wow, Bob, you're not supposed to give it away so easy, all right? Part of the magic trick is not giving it away to the audience before you do the trick or even try to do this trick.
I could do this all day. I'm just showing you a couple. You get his book and you'll be just like, what? Here's another one. All right, let's look up how many times Jesus shows up and how many times gospel shows up. Now, this is just Jesus without an apostrophe or something like that. 970 times, gospel 107 times. That's 1,071 times, which is 153 times 7. See how it's all divisible by the number 7? God must be a Cherokee. Remember? Because
Oh, here we go back to the Cherokee, and I still don't. This is new to me too. And again, if anybody out there knows if the Cherokees hold 7 sacred or anything, I think Bob's
they
just
certainly
kind of
probably
fibbing.
don't believe in the Christian God. I can tell you that much.
Well, I don't see how it goes back to the same number 7.
The Cherokee.
Wait, go back to I could do this all day and show Captain America. He'll throw his mighty shield at me. I don't know.
the Cherokee said that's God's number. Wow, they're smarter than a lot of so-called scholars today. So that's 1,007.
Oh, and mind you, okay, he's going to the KJV guy, or you're going to hell, is referencing indigenous peoples that are basically pagans, right?
Yeah, he just showed his hand. He's a pagan, so he's going to hell.
Yeah.
He's leading everybody astray. Don't listen to him. He's got the lying lips of that silver-tongued devil.
Absolutely. He just let it slip there that he's citing the Cherokees. It's like, woo, Bob.
This is at least the second time I heard he mentioned Cherokees. So if you take 7 and multiply it times 2, that's 14, and that ought to mean something.
Yeah, and why would you take the word of those pagans, right? I mean, he's using them as like this source that, you know, legitimizes his, and it's like, you're supposed to dismiss all that stuff, not, what does the Bible say? Not adopt the pagan ways, or not do as the pagans do, or something like that.
Be not of this world.
Yeah, Bob. You might want to leave that out, well, that part out in the future there, Bob. Deconverted man got. Yeah, absolutely, deconverted man. I mean, you're the man for the job for this guy. You should do some videos on these numerology folks. Yeah, punch in numbers in the Bible, and yeah, you get.
He can do it on the Lobsterist.
On the Lobsterist, yes. We're working on a project on the Lobsterist, by the way.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I'm not going to give it away, but we're working on something coming out. What today? About 10 days, something like that. Deconverted man. All right.
71, that's what? 153 times 7. Now, are you ready for this next one?
Bob, I forgot to say, at the beginning, it was a little fun. And I was like, yeah, that's kind of interesting. Find these little pattern things, And then you went total dud. And then you were just making stuff up. We can grant you a couple of numbers, but Scott was looking up stuff. You weren't even close. So I'm just going to guess that you are just making these things up. And then like the one with Jesus in the Old Testament, you were totally making that up. And
I'm sure I was doing it wrong.
Yeah, well,
you did it wrong. You didn't have the Holy Spirit. So.
And I'm that desktop idiot, so what do I know? But what?
Hey, Deconverted Man has your number, Dave.
$805.
Well, up further, he named you King Eternity.
Oh, well, of course.
So apparently you've got some numbers working on your side. I'd take out a lottery ticket.
And we got Cherokee is 7 letters. If you leave out the last E, AR, I think you're onto something there. You should write a book.
Yeah, I was going to say, maybe he was talking about the Jeep company.
Yeah. And again, I'm not knocking this guy because he seems to be a decent guy. But yeah, he's worth $2 million, and it says his main source of income is his YouTube videos. So he's making decent money on YouTube videos and writing these books. And
Dude,
You got that E thing figured out there. I mean,
you just need to start fudging some math.
yeah, the sages of old have, sat on mountaintops trying to figure out how to get 7 out of Cherokee, and you just did it.
Deconverted man, don't be depressed about the 2 million. He's using the money to buy old Bibles.
Yeah, I looked him up. His net worth is $2 million, although it says that he does charitable things and whatnot. So we're not going to pick on him for that. But playing around with these numbers like this, $2 million. So I don't know what you're doing, deconverted man. I mean, you should be on it, man.
You need to start fudging some math.
If anybody could spiel this 7 thing better than anybody, it would be you, deconverted man. I would say that, yes.
Before I get to this next one, did you know new versions of the Bible take the name Jesus out a bunch of times? Watch what happens when they do. This is the King James Bible, and the 666th occurrence of the name Jesus is a guy named Bar Jesus, who is a false Jesus. He's an Antichrist type. So it just so happens to work out in the King James Bible that the 666th time that you count the word Jesus, it's a false Jesus. And we know the false Christ is number 666, the Antichrist.
Which means
Just
Revelation is over. The beast has come and gone.
Yeah.
Which means this must be the kingdom of heaven that we're living in.
I'm glad you got something out of that because he lost me. I'm really trying, but Bob, now we're to the 6s now. Okay. All right.
But how do people say don't follow the King James Bible? They must not know how to count. But it's all coincidence, right?
We don't know how to creatively count.
Yeah, well, no, I know how to do some of this stuff. Like I said, I know some of those math tricks. I got a whole book on them, but it's not divine though. That's part of the problem. The old saying, once you know how the trick is done, you can't unsee the magic, right? I still love watching magic though. We were just watching Penn and Teller last night. I love watching it. I know it's not real though. You know what I mean? But I'm amazed at the talent of fooling you. You know what I mean? But I don't get divine from it. And some of these math tricks, like I said, when the magicians are picking your number, they're just using some of these math tricks. Now, I do know there is a history of using this kind of thing nefariously to fool people into converting. There has been magic tricks and, people, whatever you want to call it, through the ages have done all these things, supposedly levitating and walking on hot coals and all these different things, and they've all turned out to be just tricks, right?
The only magic I'm interested in is somebody making the perfect pan of cornbread.
Jedi.
Sorry, I'm getting hungry.
Or tons of mice. I think it's the WB here that carries it. I'm not sure what channel it is. Yeah, it's 7x7 channel. It comes up because it's one of the ones we follow or whatever, so it comes up on the smart TV, so smart TVs are amazing. They really are. But yeah, my son and I like watching Fool Us, and then it's followed by a bigger stage show, illusionists and stuff like that. There's a show that follows it. But yeah, we've watched a lot of the episodes together. Yeah, Penn and Teller, Fool Us, good stuff.
I like my version. I'm going to use it. But is it the version with power, where the word of the King is with power? Is it the preserved, pure word of God?
Yeah. See, what's the power? It has power. What's the power?
Power
Okay.
to divide by 7.
Apparently, that's its power. Okay.
Because God
And
said
when have
he
you ever,
preserved it.
haven't you been going along really wishing you could divide something by 7, but didn't know how? You have this video to help you.
Well, the whole pi thing, that trying to divide 7 into 22, right? And things just went all crazy, right?
Make it pure. Don't you want that one if you want revival? The last word of the Bible is amen. And guess what? That's the 77th time that the word shows up.
Doubt.
Okay. Sorry, we got to check this one. I'm checking this one.
There's no way.
How many times is amen in the Bible? 202. That's one of the first answers I get. That's not even close, Bob.
Well, I just did a search in the Authorized King James Version and Bible Gateway, and I only get 79 times. 28 in the Old Testament, 51 in the New Testament. 9 times in Revelation.
That's not even close again, Bob. We're gonna call you, Bob. We'll give you the opportunity because we want to be fair here.
Show us the math.
We needed some citations here because doesn't seem to agree with a Google search or whichever source you use. They all disagree.
Just another coincidence. Or does God use the number 7? This just scratches the surface. I could go on like this for another couple of hours of Simon Col.
Whoops. What was I at?
$554 times, and guess what that is? That's 7. But you know what most pastors say? Oh, if you use a King James, you're a cult. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John times. Let's add those all together. It's 5929 or 77 times 7. Like my version, I'm going to use it. But is it the version with power, where the word of the King is with power? Is it the preserved, pure word of God? Because God said He'd preserve it and make it pure. Don't you want that one if you want revival? The last word of the Bible is amen. And guess what? That's the 77th time that the word shows up. Just another coincidence. Or does God use the number 7?
That's 7 times 11. Now, 7 may be considered the perfect number, the holy number, in the Bible verse, the Bible universe. But 11 is one shy of the people of God, which is the number 12. So, if you're going to be not of the people of God, then 7 times 11 is the number for you. So, think about it that way. I think he's still, like the pagan he is, the Cherokee quoting pagan, he's coming up with numbers that lie to you and want you to be other than the people of God. Can I get an amen?
Amen.
Amen.
Yeah, and hello, tons of mice. Good to see you. And, of course, deconverted man. And anybody else I missed? Hello, Quasar. Hello. Got a lot of folks stopping. A lot of chats going on. Sorry, I can't get to all of them, but there's a lot of chats. Let's see. We'll take one here. Let's say someone lives their entire life believing in Christianity, but it isn't true. Then someone lives their entire life not believing and finds out it is true. Where does the problem exist? Well, the way I see it, the only problem exists is the afterlife question and whether you're going to go to heaven or hell.
Plus, I don't like giving money to
The problem
people who
exists
turn
when you're
around
forced to come.
and abuse children and then have their diocese or whatever they're called pay to have them moved to new housing so that they can get away from the justice system, so they don't have to pay for abusing children. So there's a lot of good reasons not to be in your kind of Christianity, Mr. Stop the Nat Wash, I guess.
I just throw back, if there is this divine judgment that we all have to face, then if it's a just judgment, I can't see that a God is going to hold people accountable for not believing some grouping of 7 is in a book, or which religion got it right, or anything like that. I'm more of a humanist, and I think if you're not judged on, how you were and how you treated others and all that kind of stuff, then I don't really think it's true justice. I don't like absolution, and I don't like grace. Mike and I first met through the Bread of Life when she was doing this side thing, and it was a private thing we did with some other people. It's how I met Lance too, over at Lance Independent, and some other folks. Anyway, we had this group thing, and it was basically a movie about hard luck cases that find Jesus. And look, you can find Jesus, right? But what we kept pointing out is a lot of these people were awful people, right? But then, they hit rock bottom, or they end up in jail, whatever the bad situation is. And then now they're saved and they go to heaven, right? But for me, that's not true justice, right? There's no balance against your life there. Now, I'm all for making amends, and righting wrongs and stuff, but just getting a free pass just because somebody said you're forgiven, I don't find true justice. So if there's true justice, bring it on. Okay. I think I can,
Right.
I haven't done anything that awful, I think, in my eyes. And thankfully I haven't had it forced upon me, and, like going to war or anything like that, or, so yeah.
Yeah, as someone's pointing out here, Pascal's wager doesn't account for other gods. That's the problem with it. It's a false dichotomy. So it's
That too. Yeah. And if you're worried about going to hell, I hear Islam's hell is worse than Christianity's. So,
yeah.
Is that the reason to convert? Well, I don't know. It might be for some people.
The stick in the carrot.
Again, though, I just throw right back at them. Doesn't matter who it is. Is your God just? Right? And they're going to say, well, yeah, at least most of them are going to say, yeah, my God is just. They might throw a but on there, but I'm just going to say, okay, well, then I'll take my day in court. Right? So there you go.
I think Matt Walsh person here is basically operating under the chosen mistaken assumption that we give a shit whether or not people live a religious life.
Oh, okay.
But it's the religious people who decide they have to come over here into our lives and fuck with us.
Right.
Take away freedoms, take away rights, take away, basically skew the educational system to where you can't even acknowledge healthy sex education and shit like that. That's where it becomes a problem. So if you want to go and live your religious life, that's fine. Don't fuck with me. Don't fuck with mine, and you'll be just fine. So does that help to sleep at night? Can't stop the Matt Walsh. I hope so. But really, I don't think any of your points are anything but disingenuous.
Well, I'll point out James Apperson has covered this numerous times. That, why do we talk about mostly Christianity? It's like, well, because they bring their business into our business, right? I saw a video where a Christian was basically complaining about the negative comments. And this person went looking around at other Christian channels and noticed a lot of them had negative comments about the religion. And a lot of people have genuine concerns. I don't have a bad story. A lot of people have really bad stories. and they have really bad views, and they express them in the comments section. If you don't like it, you can turn off the comment section. Just saying. So this whole thing with and where was I going with it? Oh, the idea of the Christian videos having negative comments in the comments section. So this person went looking at some indigenous Americans religious videos and noticed there weren't any nasty comments. They were all like, oh, what a nice ceremony, you know, things like that. Beautiful, you know, very nice comments. And they couldn't figure out why people weren't making negative comments on these videos and stuff. And it's like, well, probably because they ain't bothering anybody.
Yeah, because they're minding their own business.
Right?
Step
Again,
one.
yeah, so no, I have no problems. And in this country, I stand by the Constitution in the United States where we have freedom of religion. And it's a two-way street, right? You can have your religion or not have your religion. And for the same reasons I care not to, I don't want it forced upon me. So if you want to go, you want to do your thing, you want to have your beliefs, you want to have your dietary restrictions, you want to have your prayer times, that's fine. You know, I don't care. And I don't mind if accommodations are made either when they're making accommodations for people at school or work so they can have their dietary things and prayer time at lunch or whatever they need to do. That's fine. You know, especially in this country, we have to support that for the same reason, you know, it shouldn't be thrust upon me. That's all. So no, there's not a problem.
Well, can't stop the math. I kept wanting to say Math Walsh out there tonight. Matt Walsh. Get an appointment there with Deconverted Man. Y'all get together and have a conversation face to face. And I'm sure a lot of people will jump in and watch, because it does sound like an interesting conversation. But remember, when you start using your tropes, Deconverted Man's heard them all. And if you try to, he may start, if you try to listen, he may start making sense. So have fun, you and Deconverted Man.
Yeah, just maybe. No, and to be a realist as well, people have a lot of beliefs in this world. You know, I mean, you can talk about all kind of beliefs. You know, not stepping on a crack, having a lucky charm. You know, people have all kind of beliefs and stuff, and it's part of the human experience. For some reason, we have a lot of beliefs, and part of those are religious beliefs. And I don't try to deny how people see things or anything. I'm more of a, you know, you should question these things. And that's what we're doing here. I'm not, like I said, I'm not making it personal against this guy. I tried to make it very clear I'm not making it personal against this guy. And I've been trying really hard to see what it is other than just a bunch of numbers, right? It's not leading to anything divine. That's what I'm missing. He thinks it's divine. I'll grant him that, and you know, he sees, you know, some wondrous patterns showing up that just confirm for himself his belief. But I don't see it working on me. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing that's showing me other than what I already know, that some of these things are just done by math problems, and magicians use them, and they're parlor tricks. And again, I don't know all the words for the math, but they're patterns in math that repeat and stuff, you know? And when you plug these numbers in, you get these fascinating results. It's really neat. And that's math. And when he keeps saying you need to learn some math, it's like, well, I just know some basic math and I know these things. So I feel like he's trying to be dishonest.
You know, these numbers that our buddy Bob here were using, I asked ChatGPT, once again, Copilot, in the ancient Near East, excluding the Hebrew Old Testament, what kinds of numbers seemed magical or divine? The number 3, Oh, that must be, he must have forgotten, or Copilot must have actually gotten that from the Bible. No, you get that from Egypt. Osiris worship, is Isis worship, and Horus worship. The number 3 symbolizes completeness or plurality. How about 12? Well, that's associated with the cosmic order, 12 lunar months, 12 signs of the zodiac. That's Babylonian, not Christian, not Jewish. Then there's 6040, which is a number you see, I think, throughout the Old Testament. That comes from the Mesopotamian flood myths. So, the 7 represented perfection, effectiveness, and completeness. It was significant in the Mesopotamian cosmology and Egyptian mythology, where it symbolized divine order. That's where these numbers come from. Now, they may want, a kind of a Protestant, at least Christian tactic is to say, oh, God created them, made those numbers special, and paganism corrupted them. But, in terms of when the religions appeared, these numbers were important long before Judaism or Christianity came along. So by invoking those numbers, he's actually invoking, once again, pagan deities. The guy is a serpent. You need to not listen to him, or he'll become less than the people of God. If that's the thing you want to be.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, he would probably cite them and say, see, there's the number 7. But at the same time, he'll say, but you shouldn't listen to those pagans because they do the pagan worship, the occultism, and all the stuff that we shouldn't participate in. So, again, they can deny the numerology all they want here. Bob, you're doing the occult stuff that, I get called out on for when I was playing with the Ouija board and stuff. A numerologist is going to say you're doing numerology as it's used in magic and parlor tricks and just these math things that I'm sure people going to mathematics school would learn some of these fun little tricks to do and stuff. And if you, I say, I don't know how to express it well myself, but I know that if you run these certain patterns and multiply them by the same number, it comes out to these fascinating patterns. Like, you can get a lot of results, say like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, stuff like that. You get these neat patterns coming out of it. It's fascinating. It is, and limited knowledge here. I still find it fascinating. Now, Bob might find it fascinating as well. I think we might agree that it's fascinating how these things work out. Okay, Bob's seeing that it's proving a belief he already has and a specific book for some reason. Like I say, there's a big argument over this KJV or not, which version, etc. I don't even know how many versions. Scott, you know off the top of your head how many versions of the Bible are out there?
Oh, there's hundreds. But you got to remember, too, there's a lot of versions that, people have translated into the language of other countries. I mean, it has to be in the thousands. And I really don't care which one he thinks is the magical, I don't know what you would call it, original textual version. It was either in Hebrew or in Greek, but not definitely in English, which is just another translation that a British king wanted to have his Church of England adopt. That's all that's special about it. The Church of England wanted its own translation of the Bible. King James had it published, and the Church of England adopted it.
Well, Bob's going to go on for a little bit more here. We go about 3 hours here at Saturday Night at the Atheist, and I don't think pursuing any more of Bob here is going to win me over, because Bob, you let me down. I mean, Ryan, were we not psyched? He said fingerprint of God evidence was going to be presented, and then he put that dud out. I mean, what a buzzkill, right?
It was.
I mean,
the whole
come
thing
on.
was a buzzkill, honestly.
Raised expectations.
How can
Just
you get so
dashed.
excited over the number 7? I don't get it.
Well, as Scott was pointing out, there seems to be a divinity thing with the number 7. All right, I granted that from the beginning, and I repeated it over and over. Right, I'll give you the number 7, but he's going to, 77, multiples of 7, multiples of 77, multiples of 777. Yeah, and then he started. And it's not, I no longer see that the 7 no longer is magical when you can make all these combinations of 7s. Yeah, again, I'm not sure if it's exponential is the right word, but, it keeps growing, more and more numbers you can play with when you're doing that. So I granted him the number 7, but I don't see where all the rest of it went at all. So, the very beginning, that was a little bit interesting. Okay, I'll give you that, Bob. That's interesting. It would make a good short. Okay, the beginning stuff, and then you had a bunch of duds, really. And I've seen this before, so seriously, and I can tell you it doesn't.
Steps too, right? Show the methodology if you're going to do this sort of thing.
Yeah, well, he cited the name a couple of times there, that Jesus' Truth channel thing.
Yeah, that's where he saw his information from, or is that his channel?
Yeah, well, he was citing him for a lot of information. Yeah, and I went over there and looked, and yeah, I saw what he was doing, and I've got some other videos. We're not going to have time to look at them, but I have some other videos where they're doing the same thing. They're running it through this computer program that's spitting them out patterns of numbers.
It's ridiculous.
I would just like to ask Bob, if I ever get a chance, which god of the Mesopotamian pantheon he actually worships, because that's where these numbers come from. So the number 7 isn't really Yahweh's number. It's some god of the Mesopotamian pantheon, which has been using these numbers. So once again, he's a pagan.
That's what I've been trying to point out, that, and I noticed it in a lot of these videos, and some of them make the point of saying this isn't numerology, and it's like, yes, it is. I mean, it is. It's astrology. Yeah, like I say, it's a magic trick. Pick a number, right, and they guess your number. How'd you do that? It's a math trick, okay? And the patterns thing. Once again, I'm almost 100% certain that I've seen this debunked before, where yeah, you can take like Moby Dick, for instance, or I don't remember what book it was, but yeah, you can run other books, especially large books like the Bible or other big religious texts. I'm sure the Quran would spit out it's pretty big books. Any of your big books, you're going to spit out these amazing number patterns, and it's really neat. It is. I'll grant them that. But once again, does it prove Moby Dick is divine? Right? Lord of the Rings, any of your large books? No. And when he deviated from the number 7, well, he only had a couple of, they were kind of interesting right at the beginning, a couple of examples of, look at these coincidences of number 7, right? Now, if he could have strung a whole bunch of those together, he might have some, but immediately he had to go to multiples of, right?
He had to start adding and multiplying.
Yeah. And again, it's hit or miss, right? He picked out what words he wanted, and then he showed you, look at this hit I have. But you don't see what the misses are, right? How many other words don't match up to anything, right? And that they'll never tell you. And as the famous James Randi always pointed out on a lot of these, whatever trick you want to call it is the hits and misses, right? And anybody can get a couple hits, but if you got hundreds or thousands of misses, then it doesn't really mean anything. You know, it means something the opposite, right? When you're hitting almost every time.
Yeah, it's like
then
cold
it
reading.
means
That's what I was saying. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're giving you a big fail on that, Bob. Yeah, I had some other stuff. Maybe we'll come back to this and maybe another time. I got some other videos kind
You'll
of
have to
fun
ask
to look at.
COVID on that one, AR.
What's he got? Moby Dick?
Yeah, he wants to know if whale peen is divisible by 7.
You're gonna wash your mouth out with soap now. Yeah, and to anybody watching, and I know somebody was giving me a hard time whether it was just a troll or not. No, I really try to see and make some understanding. I granted him at the beginning that there was some interesting things with the 7, but then he just dismantles his own argument when he can't stick with that and show, look at all these 7 things. It's look at all these multiples of and everything. And he's just expanding his thing, and then he starts picking, and then he's got numbers that we're looking up that don't match up to those numbers, not even close. And then we're questioning, when you're fudging the numbers, maybe you really don't have anything at all. You know, if it was really something, it would be something, right?
You know, it occurs to me that once they dismantle the Department of Education, this is the math they're going to be learning in public school.
Oh my.
If they call it
Hello.
unschooling these days.
Yeah. Hello, Beck. How you doing? Good to see you. Yeah, that's but anyway, I've got before we wrap things up, I got
more copies in history.
I got something else
and brought
here.
More revival
Than
any book.
We'll end
Why would
things
you
on
choose
over
anything
here.
else? Why, if Albert Einstein was alive today, you know what he'd probably say? I'll
You're
choose
full
the
shit.
King James to just make sense mathematically, right? Because he was all about the math, right? You know he was wrong, right? E does not equal MC squared.
E doesn't equal MC squared. Did you know that?
Because scientists have found out that light can change speed, and he thought light was a constant. So
When did they do
Still
that?
Constant. He's just dumb.
what a dumb dude. But at least he would have been smart enough to look at the King James and go, wow, the math proves that right. So
Yeah, see? Remember when I told you at the beginning, he mentioned Albert Einstein, right? And this is what he was doing, right? Oh, look, Albert Einstein, right? Patterns in math is God and this and that. Then he comes along and he goes, oh, you know he was wrong, right? What a dummy.
Yeah, now he's a physicist. Come on. Get out of here.
Oh, yeah, it's okay.
Bible.
So, Simos was, Simos is usually here with us on Saturday nights. Unfortunately, he was feeling under the weather. He sent me a message and told him, of course, be better, right?
Yep, get better, Simos.
Yep, get better, Simos. We wish you all the best, sir. Get all them fluids and the soup and all whatever is, whatever you need there. And stop the stupidity. How you doing? AR and Ryan, Quasar. So many chats dropping. I appreciate it. Appreciate all the participation and everybody joining us. Hope you had fun and Deconverted Man. I could say, Deconverted Man and I got a little something planned here. So stay tuned for that. And if you aren't subscribed to the Grassman Chronicles, link in the description below. I'm almost to 100 subscribers. So if you're not subscribed to the Grassman Chronicles, help me out, would you? I like to see 100 on the Grassman Chronicles. Okay, I really would. So everybody out there listening, there's got to be a couple of you that are not subscribed to the Grassman Chronicles. So if you could drop down in the description real quick, hit that Grassman Chronicles right there, I would really appreciate it. It would put us up over 100, and that would be really great. Because, it's only 2 away, so help me out down there, I would appreciate it. And while you're down there, you'll find links in the description for Answers in Atheism and for Simos and for Slim Cyborg, where Brainless hangs out. You'll find links for Joe, the Kentucky Atheist, who's handling the ARC protest this year, along with many others and other groups and organizations, too many to mention. Joe knows all their names, and he gives out that information. There's also links for Joe's affiliates down there, as well as a discount code. And you'll also find HiveSci merchandise with Bree from HiveSci. Big fan of Bree. I'm always there every Saturday morning. And if you're not, you should be. She has merch out with some cryptid shirts and some hats and stuff like that. So you go check that out. All those links are in the description below. Okay? And help everybody out. Subscribe it all around. And yeah, if you're in the market for some smoke stuff or some merch, Kentucky Atheist has got merch as well. And I think he's going to have merch coming out for the ARC protest as well. So like there's going to be a t-shirt you can get for the ARC protest as well. All kind of stuff coming out. Joe's been very busy with all this. You might have noticed Joe hasn't been as active lately because he's got a lot of stuff to do. So, and don't forget the, what was it, the 19th, April 19th, right, is the, well, I'll just play the commercial again. Is the fundraiser.
Hey, I got to go. I'm being summoned by my family, so I will see y'all next week.
All right, Scott, we'll talk to you later.
Hanging out with you.
Yeah, we're going to wrap it up here with, we'll run the commercial here. Hope you paid attention to that because it's all the names and everything was in there. And yeah, more details. People were asking before about bookings and all that. Yeah, Joe's making arrangements to get a block of rooms, and they're talking about other ways to make accommodations, maybe get together with a bed and breakfast, or what do you call it? You know what I mean? Rent a house thing. Yeah. So yeah, they're working on that too. You can get a hold of him over there. If you got any questions, all his contact information is over there. He's putting out information on it as it comes. Of course, everything's tentative. This is in July, but it's coming together. Looks like it's going to be a great deal going on. So I'm going to try and make it down. We'll see. It's still a ways off, but looks like there's going to be a great cast of folks showing up there. So if you are in that area, if you're interested in protesting the ARC, you can come there. It's easy to get to. It's right off of I-75. So if you're anywhere near the area, there's an exit you get off right I-75, and there's a little road that goes to the ARC. So that easy. If you are also interested in helping out, again, they're going to have this fundraiser in a couple weeks. You can do that too, because even though all the great donations going on and free help and all that kind of stuff, there's always some expenses, right? So if you can help out that way too, that would be great. Again, links, follow Joe's stuff. He's got the links how to help out, and they're going to have the fundraiser again. Do all that good stuff, because around here, we don't care much for Ken Ham and his atrocity. And let's see what else we had. But again, Mike was busy tonight. I saw him in the chat. Hope you had a good time tonight, Mike. Simos, I hope you feel better. Scott hung out with us. Thanks, Scott. Appreciate it. Scott, of course, duck off, I think, with a grandson or something. It's all good. Hung out with us for almost all the whole time. So yeah.
Yep.
And
my pets are staring at me. It's about dinner time for them.
About
so
that time too.
They're getting hungry. You can tell.
And Brainless, hope Brainless is resting well. Of course, Brainless is overseas, so he's ahead of us. So it's always later for Brainless, but always like having Brainless hang out with us. And yeah, I mentioned to Ryan earlier too. I said, hey, I've got an empty seat there, Ryan. And Ryan said, I'll come by. Sounds like fun. So hope you had fun, Ryan, with some of the numbers nonsense.
Even though that guy was ridiculous, it's always fun to hang out with you, Dave.
It is fun to hang out with you too. And like I say, we aren't taking things too seriously here on Saturday nights. I try to look for these things that are a little bit irregular. Like I say, I bent the rules a little bit with this guy. He is a bigger channel, but it was because some smaller channels repeat this stuff, and I didn't want to copy somebody's smaller channel that I think is just copying somebody else's stuff. So I went to the source for this guy, so to speak, and he gave out a source for this other channel and for the book and everything. You know, I say, go check out that Jesus is Truth thing. It's not only the Bible code stuff, but there's all kinds of interesting angles at the Bible and stuff going on over there. So if you want the far outside of the Bible, yeah, go check out that channel. I did. It's interesting. I think I had enough. And for Brad,
for sure.
For Brad, yeah, we had our fun there, Brad. But I think that, our time is over. I don't think we have a lot more to say to each other. Brad doesn't care for me much, or Mike at Answers in Atheism anyway. So it kind of takes the fun out of the back and forth, when you give us such a hard time.
Yeah, I've had that happen to me before. It's like where you try to interact with them and they just don't give you any meat to chew on. It's like, come on.
We can agree to disagree and have fun. I mean, I'm sitting here smiling all night, we're having fun, and we don't try to make things, personal or anything here. Brad, he kind of makes things personal. He's a self-appointed saint. I mean, it's like, look at me, it's like, well, I'm king of the world, so how about that?
Self-appointed.
Yeah.
You can't stop me.
Blaster, there's my head knight, right? He's taking care of the dragons and everything, I heard you got a problem with those in the KJV, right? Hi, Robin, how you doing? But I think it's a big goose egg. I call it numerology. They don't like calling it numerology, and I know why. It's numerology. That's all it is. There's no difference if you go to numerology and anything else. I know Robin would know. You can pull this numerology stuff on anything, and that's all they're doing with the Bible. And the rest is just, again, it's just math. It's, what's 77 times 77? Well, it's this. Plug that back in. Well, there's this many of this many words in the Bible. Aha. Okay. Well, it's the same thing I said about Nathaniel Jensen that works at AIG. I kid around. Everything he does works out because he's dividing in by 6,000 years, and he believes the earth is 6,000 years old. So all his answers work out mathematically divisible by 6,000 years because he's putting in 6,000 years. And then he says, aha. And I'm always like,
can't be wrong.
You can, yeah, good for you. But ultimately, this is supposed to be proof of we'll be serious for a minute. I'm not going to smile and laugh or nothing, all right? Promise. This is supposed to be a video to prove some kind of divinity or that God's true word is in this particular version of the Bible. Okay. Again, trumping all other religions and trumping all other versions of the Bible and all the people through time that didn't have this right version of the Bible. Okay. To somehow show me, because Bob in the video already believes, right? So to show me that I'm going to take this as some sign, right? I don't see it. I didn't see anything. The very beginning was intriguing. I will give you that. But it was like, that's all you have. So it falls apart real fast.
Yeah, it's not very persuasive to like an outsider, for sure.
I will give, because I watch the weird and wonderful shows, and all that kind of stuff, right? I'm into it, right? And I will grant you at the beginning, you had a couple of neat little coincidences of number sevens. That's all you have.
I mean, like
all the rest of it is garbage.
Don't the other religions do the same thing? Like,
sure.
Do the same thing?
Sure.
Come on.
And I had some other stuff too. There's stuff about Torah stuff. There's this guy that's really far out there. And like I say, he goes, well, look at the numbers in this verse, you add those up and that takes you to this verse. And then you read this verse and then you go to this verse and you read this verse. And it's like, well, what's the point? You can do that till you're blue in the face, right? If you assign the words numbers and you say, okay, yeah, I read this and then I jump to this and then I jump to this. And I was mentioning earlier, those folks are leaving out a bunch of the Bible.
Yeah. The
ones that are saying there's another, I forget the name of it, but it's jumping every 7 letters. And if you jump every 7 letters, then you're getting this thing, right? And it's like, well, what did God have him write down all the rest of those words for? Right? Why didn't God just have him write down every 7 words? So it raises all these questions of why did God do this so, puzzle box, right? If you don't do it just all right, and this is something serious. This is about hell and your immortal soul, and God's playing this puzzle box with you all through time of which version and all this for your immortal soul. It's like, man, I'm sorry, but sounds like a raw deal. Really, it does. So what do you think? You want to go to heaven? Hang out with these folks? The 14 of us?
Oh, man. It's always thought like, to me, it's like living eternally just seems like that has to be torture no matter what, right?
Yeah, and it's always the old joke, I don't want to spend eternity with you. I mean, do I got to hear this 7 nonsense for the rest of eternity? Right? Is Brad going to be yelling at me, KJV
in heaven? You're like, yeah, dude, we talked to Jesus. He's right here. We know.
And so thank you for Ryan. Thank you to Ryan for being a guest with us tonight. You're always welcome here, Ryan. And thanks everybody for joining us. We, like I say, a lot of great folks stopping through tonight. Lots of folks in the chat. A lot of folks chatting about a lot of stuff. And like I say, we tried to take a couple questions. I hope you at least think that we answered it honestly, even if you didn't like our answer. All right. And with that, who knows what I'll find next week. And if you have some, one of these interesting videos, one of these interesting topics or whatever, let me know in the comments. We'll check it out. We take requests, try to find stuff from the smaller channels. But something interesting is always interesting to us. Okay, so send it my way in the comments or at allhailbigfoot@gmail.com. All right. And everybody have a good week. We'll see you next Saturday, and maybe we'll see you before then, because you never know what we're going to pop on about, especially with Mike over at Answers in Atheism. And I've got, get subscribed to the Grassman, because I can't see my thing here. I have coming up a new Grassman episode on the Puckwudgies, and I really like enjoying saying Puckwudgies. Puckwudgies. So we're going to talk about Puckwudgies. I'm covering Ohio cryptids, and there's about a dozen. I've already covered some of them, so I want to fill in the blanks. So I figured a lot of this, the rest of this year, will be some Ohio cryptids. So come watch about some Ohio cryptids at the Grassman Chronicles. Link in the description below. Everybody take care. And with that, say goodbye, Ryan.
Goodbye. See you guys later.
Tales of lore knocking at the captive death's door. Oh, legends live within these walls, silent echoes in the halls, books and stories on the floor, knocking at the captive death's door. Oh, captive desk, hold our dreams, where reality and no myth seems. In conversations quiet flow, the mysteries untold will know. Legends live within these walls, silent echoes in the halls, books and stories on the floor, knocking at